enche hanko funa mensa. Iwa miengo kama meka oza semuna me. Kama meka oza semuna bibi. Awan kama menso mankanche abane kabada mensa. Arahosem ifeya enche hanko funa mensa. Awan kama menso mankanche abane kabada mensa. Arahosem ifeya enche hanko funa mensa. Kama menka oza semuna me. Kama menka oza semuna me. Awan kama menso mankanche abane kabada mensa. Arahosem ya enche hanko funa mensa. Awan abane kabada mensa. Arahosem ifeya enche hanko funa mensa. Wampa wa mienko kama meka oza semuna me. Aba kama meka oza semuna bibi. Awan kama menso mankanche abane kabada mensa. Arahosem ifeya enche hanko funa mensa. Awan kama menso mankanche abane kabada mensa. Arahosem ifeya enche hanko funa mensa. Ti kama menka oza semuna me. Kama menka oza semuna me. Awan kama menso mankanche abane kabada mensa. Arahosem ifeya enche hanko funa mensa. Awan kama menso mankanche abane kabada mensa. Arahosem ifeya enche hanko funa mensa. Iwa mienko kama meka oza semuna me. Kama meka oza semuna bibi. Awan kama menso mankanche abane kabada mensa. Arahosem ifeya enche hanko funa mensa. Awan kama menso mankanche abane kabada mensa. Arahosem ifeya enche hanko funa mensa. Every year kama meka oza semuna me. Kama meka oza semuna me. Awan kama menso mankanche abane kabada mensa. Arahosem ifeya.
So, ladies and gentlemen, our panel and some of our very special guests are joining us in this auditorium. A round of applause for them.
All right. Say what? Get it back. See what? Get it back. Get it back. Get it back. Listen to this one. See what? Atia yede wa enye ode no emfa nye obi. Whatever when done to you, you will not like, do not do to anybody. Listen to this one. Palm wine music, and the band is Kwampa. T. Siwa.
It's a very soothing start for a night that's going to be very exciting in many ways. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me. Let's appreciate Kwampa Band. Thank you very much. Good evening and welcome to the NEC Auditorium, where tonight we gather for the What I Wish I Knew conference. For short, we call it WIWIK. And this year we bring you this very special edition on a theme that's interesting in many regards. We all appreciate that leadership is the basis on which everything revolves around. But leadership, the highest form of leadership, is leadership of self. And that's why we're gathered here today under the theme, Mastering the Art of Self-Leadership. So ladies and gentlemen, get ready for a night. Get ready for a night that's going to be very informative, educating, and for the time that we spend here is going to be absolutely worth your while. For now, though, because we're in the University of Cape Coast, I want to kindly invite for the welcome address the SRC President, Mr. Jason Terrier. After that, we'll have some messages from the sponsors who put together this beautiful event. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me. Let's welcome the SRC President, Mr. Christopher Datsin. He's all the way at the back, as and when he comes into the front, we'll give him the microphone and we'll hear a word from him. For now, though, we'll take some messages from our sponsors. Like we see on radio and TV, we'll be back after this short commercial break.
You get a sonata. Yellow! Today we have a very big surprise for all of you. You get a sonata. You get a sonata. You get a sonata. You so open a sonata if you want it. You get a sonata. Sonata. You get a sonata. You get a sonata. And you can get a sonata too.
Everyone's excited about the MTN Act 25 promo. Just keep using your MTN number and talk, text, browse, and more to gain points, and you could win one of 25 Hyundai Sonata vehicles and cash prizes each month in the MTN Act 25 promo. Dial *156# today and begin your journey to win big.
Hey, man, try.
Only on MTN, everywhere you go. Terms and conditions apply.
To the good people of the University of Cape Coast. My name is Bernard, and I'm the convener of the What I Wish I Knew conference. I'd like to specially welcome you all to the 7th edition of the WIWIK conference. Moreover, please accept my sincerest apologies for my inability to be with you in person due to circumstances beyond my control. More importantly, this year's conference offers us an opportunity to reflect and think about how we want to manage ourselves in a pandemic and post-COVID-19. The reality is that the full consequences of the pandemic has not sunk in yet, and its repercussions will live with us for a very long time. Think about its implication on a graduate living for a very volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. I'm of the opinion that self-leadership is the answer to surviving and thriving in a very VUCA moment or world. I highly recommend that you make the most out of this value-filled evening's gathering. Put a premium on it and make it count. Permit me to share with you this quote. If you really want to grow tall in life, learn to feed your roots. If you want to grow tall in life, learn to feed your roots. And to our speakers who have taken time off your busy schedules to be with us, we say a very big thank you. And to you all gathered in here as participants, always remember, it's always a privilege of a lifetime to have you or host you at a WIWIK conference. Blessings.
You want to grow tall, learn to grow. Can I hear you? If you want to grow tall, learn to feed your. Wonderful. Thank you very much. So that was a message from the convener, Mr. Bernard Tewia. What are we expecting tonight? Tonight, we'll have a spotlight segment where we get to have an interaction with a very great man who will walk us through his self-leadership journey. In the evening also, we'll unveil the UMAP project. We'll have some interlude. Kwampa was amazing. They'll come back. And then we'll have a colloquium where some very distinguished people will share ideas, lessons that we can glean from them in that conversation. You want to look out for that. And we'll have a presentation by Other Consult and the special keynote presentation. I don't want to miss that for anything. He is already amongst us, and so we'll hear from him. And we'll also have the big one. Our sponsors will treat us to something exciting. So tonight, get ready. 20,000 is up for grabs for anyone with an entrepreneurial idea from Bridge Hub. That's exciting, is it not? Yes, we also have a $500 scholarship for a one-on-one study abroad, counseling and guidance for 2 lucky winners. So 2 people are going to smile because they are going to get this opportunity. And we have for 5 people, 5 lucky winners, getting a 1,250 Ghana Citi scholarship for any project management course. I think it sounds very exciting. So it's going to be a very packed evening. Again, for the time that we spend here, is going to be absolutely worth your while. Ladies and gentlemen, moving on in tonight's program, we're going to have a senior of mine as a master of ceremony, and he will walk our Professor Joseph Ampah through a self-leadership journey. He is a television host, he's a radio host, and he's been an MC for many years, having MC'd events, more than 1,000 events, so he's very cut for this. Please, with a great sense of joy, let's make welcome Mr. Kafui Day. So ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kafui is assuming his seat and he will have a conversation, a self-leadership journey conversation with the Professor Joseph Ampah. He was the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Keynote. Very distinguished man. His credentials is loaded, and you will know from it as he engages in this conversation with Mr. Kafui. With a great sense of privilege for all of us gathered here, please let's make welcome the Professor Joseph Ampah.
Well, good evening, and you're welcome. Give yourselves a big WIWIK round of applause. And what I love about moderating is that you talk less and you listen more. So I'll speak for 20%, and Professor Ghartey will take off the other 80%. Everything is up here. The Ampiah is right here, so it's not taking me too far away from my comfort zone. Mastering the art of self-leadership. What is it? what has he done in his life that has brought him to this point in life? How has he navigated the storms of life as far as self-leadership and mastery are concerned? It's going to be 20 minutes of discovery and insight. Professor Ghartey, it's good to have you here. For you, what does self-leadership mean to you if you look back at your life up until this point?
Thank you, Kafui. Thank you. First, in leadership, you need to have a vision or objective, and you need to be able to mobilize, or if you like, galvanize people to achieve your vision or the objective. But in self-leadership, you influence yourself. You influence your own thinking, your desired experiences, and intentionally guide yourself towards achieving the vision or the objectives you've set for yourself.
Tell us how you've done this for yourself. How have you intentionally guided yourself? Give us an example that we can take away and always remember.
I think that many times you look at yourself, you look at your circumstances, and you think that there's very little that you can do. You look at people, you look at problems, and you find out that it is all about things going against you. But so many years ago, I saw an inscription somewhere which I kept in my mind. It says, laziness breeds idleness, which creates failures to destroy the works of realities.
Let's take it again.
I'll do that. Laziness breeds idleness, which creates failures to destroy the works of realities.
Where did you say this? On the back of a trotro or what?
No. That's a signboard on the Cape Coast Kumasi Road.
Okay.
In fact, quite close to Cape Coast.
Mm-hmm.
So many years ago, the signboard is no more there.
Why did that fire your mind?
Because you see, the works of realities are there. But if you are lazy, then you become idle. You don't do anything. And that creates failure, which failure then does not allow you to achieve the works of realities. Therefore, it means that I needed to galvanize myself to do that. When I was in school, my father was there. He helped me to do all sorts of things. But after sixth form, my father died. And looking around, I could see that nobody was ready to help me, or nobody could help me. My mother had traveled outside the country. We're not even hearing from her. So I had to take my own destiny into my hands. And with the help of God, I decided that what can I do? How do I feed myself? How do I go about doing the things I should be doing? And I thought that instead of complaining, I have to look inward into myself. And I say, what can I do? I realized that I can teach. That's after sixth form. So I started to teach.
What subject?
I taught mathematics, I taught physics, I taught chemistry. 3 subjects. And I can tell you that I started teaching after sixth form, continued to the university. Whilst a first-year student at the university here, I was teaching the secondary schools. And so for Cape Coast, I have taught in all schools except Holy Child and Ghana National. Every other school here I have taught. I also taught at Infantsman Girls. So I was teaching and schooling. First year to final year.
How were you able to manage your time?
Yes. So the management of time is very important. It's about self-discipline. Knowing what to do and what not to do. Whilst here in school teaching, I was also looking after a church at Elmina, Assemblies of God Church. We went to establish the church, and I was leading the church, going there 3 times in a week.
How old were you when you went to plant this church?
How old was I when I went to plant this church?
Yes.
I think I was around 21 years.
So you were a church planter, you were a teacher of physics, chem, and maths.
Yes.
And you were a student.
And I was a student. So I planned my time well. I spend the time studying, and then when it is time to go to church, I go to church. And when it is time to teach my students in the secondary schools, I teach them. I had 3 types of contracts. One is the school itself employs me to teach the students. So that is official. One is that I gather the students to teach them. And the other one is that the students look for me to come and teach them in their school. And so I was very well known at that time. And it is through this that I was able to fend for myself through my university education. Today, university education has become a little more expensive. In our time, it was not that expensive. We rarely paid anything, but you have to eat, you have to do other things. You have to wear clothes, and so on and so forth. So you needed money. And I stayed with a friend in Cape Coast here, from first year to final year. So it's self-discipline, it's self-awareness that who am I? What can I do? Is life so lost to me? And I said, no. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I took the challenge. And since then, I've even loved to teach. And then I remained in teaching until today.
So, have you ever reflected on what your life could have turned out to be if you hadn't noticed that billboard on the Cape Coast Kumasi Road?
I think God pointed me to that billboard because he knew that if I read that, it would have an influence on me. And this is so many years ago.
Were you lazy before you saw that billboard?
I wasn't lazy, but really, I didn't know what I should do. I've lost my father. My mother was out of the country. She was in Nigeria. And I didn't know what to do. I had siblings who were older, who were younger than me.
No uncles, no aunties, family, friends?
Oh, family, friends, uncles, aunties, there's very little that they will do for you. Very, very little. So, depending upon them was really not the option. When I looked at it, it wasn't an option for me. And then I had to do something. So, I think that I took the effort and said, look, I must be my own leader. And I must find something to do and do that thing well. And it has worked for me. And throughout my life, I've come across such issues. And through self-leadership, reflecting on what I can do, I've been able to surmount them, all of them.
Let me take you back to something you just said. Find something to do and do it well. It brings me to the word mastery. How does one master, how does one even find something that they are good in before they get to master it? Talk to us about mastery.
Yes. So you have to find what you are good in. You cannot be good in everything. You may be good in many things, but there will be one that really stands out. And you need to figure that out for yourself.
How did you figure it out for yourself? How did you know that you were a teacher?
How do I know I was a teacher? First is from Sunday school. I attended Sunday school right from age 3 on KNUST campus, then called UST. And the students there came to teach us every Sunday. So through Sunday school, I became interested in teaching because I was always being taught. When I went to secondary school, when the teacher is not in the class, I teach the rest of the students. So that was there. And therefore, when this issue came up, I realized that, well, this is something that I think I'm good at. Then I need to develop it and need to put it into action and see what comes out of it.
Talk to our friends here about having multiple skills and not knowing which one you should focus on for mastery.
Try all of them, I say, and see which one really you like and which one people really think you are good at. Sometimes you may think you are good at something, but then it doesn't work. But when people say you are good at something, you yourself know that I'm good at this. You need to pursue it. It may not be something so great, but you see, greatness starts from littleness. And you have to go gradually. So there are many things we are all good at. And we may not know that. Sometimes you are not too good in the academics, but you are very good in something else. And with a small academic qualification that you have obtained, you could leverage on that to do those great things. So don't belittle yourself and say that, well, I am nothing, I can do nothing, and God has not been kind to me. One of my schoolmates will always say, nature is not kind to me. I say, no, it's not about nature. It is about you yourself. So find something to do and do it well and put all your effort into it. When I was teaching, I had to learn all the things all over again. I had to read before I go to teach. I have to solve problems before I go to teach. I have to prepare my notes before I go to teach. This was when I was in the university here and teaching in the secondary school.
So preparation is key
very, very
to
important.
mastery.
Yes.
Were you a horrible teacher in the beginning, or you started out excellent?
I think that I wasn't a horrible teacher. I immediately after sixth form, I taught a little bit. So I got used to teaching students before I came to the university. I wasn't a horrible teacher, but there were a lot of things I needed to learn more and to grow in it. You can never be perfect in a day. It is a journey, and you must strive towards achieving your goal. And therefore, anything that you can do to be able to do that, you should do. And don't worry about what other people are doing. Focus on yourself. Too many times, we want to compare ourselves with others. You don't have to. I never compared myself with anyone. I was struggling to find money. I had to do it on my own. I wasn't looking at other people who were rich and so on and so forth.
Did you get any opposition from about what you were doing that could have veered you off your track?
Oh, definitely. See, sometimes you realize that you're doing the thing alone. Yes, it's self-leadership. You're doing it alone. You don't have any support from anyone. But you need to stir yourself up. You need to motivate yourself and tell yourself that I can do it.
When in your low moments, how did you get out of those low moments?
In my low moments, for me, I've always had God. I've always had God on my side. I've always served the Lord. And I knew that no matter what the troubles I was going through, God was with me and will show me the way. And therefore, God is the source of my inspiration. So we're talking about self-leadership. But this is in it. Self-leadership is in it. And for me, God lives within me.
Can anybody be a leader?
Can anybody be a leader? Yes. Because you see, in self-leadership, you are your own leader. You lead yourself. You prop yourself up. You have your vision or your goals, and you try to achieve them by yourself. You don't look at people and see whether they will support you or not. You try as much as possible to see what you can do before you find out what others can do to help you.
You talked about your vision. Did you write it down? How did you keep it in front of you all the time? And what was the vision really?
The vision was for me to succeed. It was for me to succeed in the things that I do. So I knew that no matter what happens, I will succeed. That has always guided me. I'll tell you a short one. When I was in final year, we had to do a project, and I did chemistry as my first degree. And I didn't go to look on the board because I thought that there were many projects on the board, so I just went and pick one. I was allowed to go to look on the board. When I went to the department, they picked all the projects. And they've left the project of one particular professor who nobody wanted to work with.
Why?
Because he will fail you. because he will fail you. And nobody gets any good marks from the professor.
Constant, you fail you.
Constant.
They were not failing themselves?
Nobody, no, see, they say no matter what you do, you won't get a good grade from him.
Okay.
So nobody picked his projects. When I went, all the projects were picked by other people. So my mates were laughing at me and said, you do those projects. I said, I'm not going to do the project. So I walked to the man's house. He was having lunch. And then after lunch, he said, young man, what do you want? And I said, I have come to tell you that I saw your project on the board. It's not the only one. And it's organic chemistry. I am not interested in organic chemistry.
You told him that?
I told him that. Because it wasn't that I wasn't interested. I didn't want to work.
Were you a bold guy? Were you a bold guy back then?
Yes, I was.
What was his reaction when you told him that?
This is a huge man, you know, and huge professor. Huh? And he said, you are not interested in the project? I said, yes, I'm not interested. He said, well, if it is only interest which is your problem, I will induce it. I will induce the interest in you.
Chemically speaking?
Yes. I said, wow. So I said, look, let me go and drop you at the department. So he went to drop me. I couldn't speak again because the whole thing was I was trying to use interest as the reason. And he said he will induce the interest. So I went to my room. 2 weeks I never saw the man. I didn't want to go to him.
Was the induction process underway?
It was on the way. I decided to induce the interest myself. Mm-hmm. That I don't want to work with this man. I'm not too much interested in this project because of organic chemistry, the organic compounds, and so on and so forth, the smells are not pleasant. So I said that, look, let me induce the interest in myself. And I induced the interest in myself. Look, I can do those projects. Nobody is doing this man's project. I can do this project, and I will succeed.
Through Christ who strengthens
you. That is it. Through Christ who strengthens me. And indeed, I started a project. My friends we were all in the lab. I was doing organic. They were all doing something else, and they were laughing at me. And the work that I was doing was to extract a certain hot principle from a tree called Fagaras xanthosaloides.
Thank you very much.
And so my mates used to call me Fagara because I was working on Fagaras xanthosaloides. And I used them as my guinea pigs to test my chemicals for me. And at the end of the day, I was able to finish.
Nice.
And when I finished, I defended it.
Aha.
And I got A.
From the guy who fails everybody?
Yes, I got A.
Induction.
But you must take the initiative. You must.
I wish I could continue speaking to you to induce more of the apport from you, but we'll have to end it here. I want you to wrap up with that sign you saw on that billboard from Cape Coast to Kumasi, so people can write it down and remember it, because it has formed the fulcrum around which our conversation has revolved.
Those who know the Cape Coast Kumasi Road, after Mankesim, there is a village called Batanya, and then it's a cave. Just after the cave, you have this man who is manufacturing koa, and there's a big signboard there. That signboard was not there that time. It was a different signboard. And that place was called Wusor Krum. And that man had that signboard. Which says that? What did I start with?
Laziness.
Laziness breeds idleness, which creates failures to destroy the works of realities.
Can we repeat that chemical equation? Laziness breeds idleness,
which creates
failures
to destroy the works of realities.
Laziness breeds idleness, which creates failures to destroy the works of realities.
Thank you.
Professor Joseph Ghartey, I thank you very much.
You are most welcome.
Very impressive, wasn't it? Yes. That's when you hear from the professor. That's when you hear. Thank you very much, Professor. It's a chemical reaction. Thank you very much, sir. This is not the last time we're going to hear from Professor. Much later. So much later in the evening, we'll hear again from Professor. The Akansi Sankofa Ienchi, which is to wit that it doesn't spoil so much if you have to retrace your steps to get something fixed. Now we have the SRC President amongst us who will bring us an address. So please help me. Let's welcome Mr. Christopher Datsin.
Good evening, invited guests, resource personnel, colleague executives, fellow students, ladies and gentlemen, all protocol duly observed. It's my singular honor as SRC President of UCC to be given the opportunity to welcome all of you to this very unique and significant event. A term widely used among the youth today, which is adulting. And the word adult has been transformed from a noun that may apply to a certain person due to their age, and has changed instead to a verb. Adulting is all the things that we as young people have to learn as we navigate trying to be useful and responsible citizens. Yet the truth about adulting or growing up is that there is no handbook. And the best lessons are often learned as we go about making our own mistakes or learning from the experience of others. The years that we spend as students of this university are life-changing. This is a training ground for the battlefield of life. And especially for our final year students, I understand the looming prospect of being thrown into the real world or the working class is sometimes disconcerting. We are stepping onto uncharted territory with no real idea of how to succeed. But with every success and failure comes a lesson. And when it is possible to learn from the experiences of others so as to prevent making such errors, then it falls upon us to be forward-thinking, to make use of these experiences. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "Learn from the mistakes of others. You can't long enough to make them all yourself. And I believe it is this sentiment that has brought Apex Human Consult to collaborate with UCC SRC to organize this edition of What I Wish I Knew conference. The theme for this year's conference is an ideal or practice that we could all benefit from more enlightenment on. That's mastering the art of self-leadership. And to be a great leader, one must first and foremost possess the capacity and discipline to improve upon their own self-leadership skills in order to increase efficiency and productivity. To expound more on this theme, we are honored to have in our midst our resource personnel and speakers from all walks of life and fields of expertise. As we listen and interact with these speakers today, I believe that the stories and experiences that are being shared with us will prove to be invaluable lessons that will become actionable practices and habits to improve our self-leadership skills as well as productivity. The SRC's most heartfelt appreciation goes to Apex Human Consult, the university management, the organizing committee, and all guests who have honored our invitation, and of course the student body for choosing to take advantage of what is arguably one of our best personal development conferences on campus. Once again, I welcome you to today's event, and I believe it promises to be very educative, entertaining, informative, and life-changing. Thank you very much.
I told you it's going to be life-changing, and tonight I told you we have some prizes. So for the first prize amongst us, it's time for us to get very interactive. For $500, please go onto the Instagram page for Propelled Scholar and send a DM on what you wish to make with your study abroad degree. So send a DM to Propelled Scholar on Instagram and say what you want to make with your study abroad degree, and the first person will win the $500 scholarship. How about that? An applause for that. Okay, I see you are getting active on your phones, so you don't really want to put your hands together, but it's okay. So the first person who sends the message to Propelled Scholar on Instagram will get that prize. Now, though, I want to invite someone who is a part of the sponsors, GIZ. He'll give us a quick message and we'll continue with the rest of the program. Please help me welcome Mr. Kabute Darlington.
Thank you very much. So my name is not Kabute Darlington. My name is Kabute Doku. And I work for an organization called the Ghanaian German Center, which is a project of the German Development Corporation in Ghana. Our main area of operation is migration. We seek to address the fallout of from migration. And you know, it is because of unemployment that many people would want to walk through the desert to go to Libya, try to cross the Mediterranean Sea to get to Europe in search of greener pastures. So there is this close nexus. There is this relationship between migration and unemployment. And we all know the causes of unemployment in this country, especially unemployment when it comes to graduates. Graduates getting out of schools and not being able to do anything and have to sit at home for several years. So this project has been commissioned by the German government to try to create perspectives or opportunities here for young Ghanaians. We target secondary schools, we target graduates from universities. Those who are graduating from secondary schools, we approach them with career guidance counseling, so that right from secondary school, they'll be able to make informed choices about their career prospects. They'll know where to find themselves, so that when they go to tertiary schools, they know that, yes, they are doing the right courses, the right programs, so that when they come out, they will not be, have to come and sit at home for several months. We also target the tertiary schools. So we've been at the University of Cape Coast before. We held an event at the venue opposite this building.
And then we would like to engage the SRC in future for more exciting programs on career prospects, on CV writing, and so on and so forth. So in the nutshell, or briefly, this is what we do at the Ghanaian Gemma Center. And then we are happy to partner WIWIK 2021. Thank you very much.
COVID is in town, so you have to be extra sure, right? All right, thank you very much, and thank you for the support you are lending to this conference. We'll take a spot of music to relax. We'll come back and have a colloquium of some of our distinguished speakers. And so Kwampa is set. They'll treat her to some good music for 10 minutes. Right. Please.
Is a mentor to this band. In fact, he's part of the inspiration for the formation of this band. He told us a story. He said in 1963, he went to London for further studies. He did not know anybody in London. It was his first time. He said, at the time he got to London, the temperature was so low. He said even the elephant in the zoo could not move. If you wanted the elephant to move, you had to give the elephant whiskey before it could rise. It tells you how intense the temperature was. He went to live with a friend, and after just a week, the friend told him he could no longer put up with him, so he should go and find his own apartment. Ejakunimo said he did not know anybody in London, and the weather was so severe. So he said now he had to choose whether to stay on and face the weather squarely and complete his education, or come back to Ghana to his comfort zone and enjoy the weather. And that was when he wrote the song, Overseas Life, Abrochre Abrabo. Listen to the song, Ejakunimo song. Abrocha brabo yenuanume, abrocha brabo abrocha brabo yo, abrocha brabo ya menyedeni singiriba. Mese abrocha brabo yenuanume, abrocha brabo abrocha brabo yo, abrocha brabo ya menyedeni siriba. Ejakunimo say eno menini kwatima Obani momi na metu batachani no. Mijina mpueja ame sume durumi. Oba kwa kuhuno. Odanse fo wohi. Abrocha brabo ye nianume. Abrocha brabo ye. Abrocha brabo yo. Abrocha brabo ya. Minyedene. Siwa. Ikinkiriba. Abrocha brabo ye nianume. Abrocha brabo ye. Abrocha brabo yo. Abrocha brabo ya. Minyedene. Now he was calling his mother. What's it? Eno menini kwa tima. Obeni momi na metu batacheni no. Bijina mpueja ame sume durume. Oba kwa kuhuno. Odanse fuwa wohi. Abrocha brabo ye nianume. Abrocha brabo ye. Abrocha brabo yo. Abrocha brabo ya. Minyedene. Singiriba. Kiba kwampa. Mese abrocha brabo ye nianume. Abrocha brabo ye. Abrocha brabo yo. Abrocha brabo ya. Minyedene. Listen to this one. Mese san kuruma. Nine wo ochichinko komba. Osonke ye juma. Nine wo ochichinko komba. San kuruma. Nine wo ochichinko komba. Osonke ye juma. Nine wo ochichinko komba. Watching. Osonke ye juma. Wanante. Osonke ye juma. Nene wo neje wo bampa yengwe san kroma. Nene wo acheche kugoma. Osonke ye juma nene yenko san kroma. Nene wo acheche kugoma. Osonke ye juma nene wo chinchina. Osonke ye juma ebe nene wo neje wo ebe san kroma. Nene wo acheche kugoma. Osonke ye juma nene every year we chinchina. Osonke ye juma ebe nene wo neje wo ebe san kroma. Nene wo acheche kugoma. Osonke ye juma nene wo. Mesi watching Osonke ye juma. Wanante Osonke ye juma. Nene wo neje wo san kroma. Nene wo acheche kugoma. Osonke ye juma nene yento san kroma. Nene wo acheche kugoma. Osonke ye juma nene yento san kroma. Nene wo acheche kugoma. Osonke ye juma nene wo we chinchina. Osonke ye juma ebe nene wo neje wo ebe san kroma. Nene wo acheche kugoma. Osonke ye juma nene every year wanantia. Osonke ye juma ebe nene wo neje wo ebe san kroma. Nene wo acheche ebe Osonke ye juma nene wo acheche kugoma. Thank you.
That was good, wasn't it? I saw Mr. Bernard Avle jamming to this one. Thank you very much, Kwampa, for that performance. So we're moving on in the program and we'll have a colloquium. But first, let me just let you into some of our panel who will be connecting through the power of technology. And mentioning technology, I want to say that this conference, as we are present in, is live and it's on WIWIK Global across all social media platforms. So on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram, we're live. So you can share so that someone along your timeline can be part of this experience. All right. WIWIK Global on Facebook, Twitter, and on Instagram. For more than 20 years, she has helped executives, teams, divisions, and entire organizations focus on what matters most and how to get it done. She's the founder and the CEO of Political IQ, an organization that helps executives develop high political IQ to adeptly navigate workplace politics. And for 20 years, senior leaders at the companies with 15 to 250,000 employees have trusted her to solve their dilemmas at workplace. And her clientele base include the Bank of America, the World Bank, the Dow Jones, the PwC, and many others. Ladies and gentlemen, she is Miss Nancy Halpern, the founder and CEO of Political IQ USA. So she will be connecting through the power of technology. Madame Doris Ahiati, also on the stage. Welcome, ma'am. Thank you. Is Mr. Henry Baye connecting with us online? Okay, he's here. So we'll have Mr. Henry Baye also come with us. He'll connect with us online. And we have the last but not the least, Professor Joseph Ampiah Ghartey. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me. Let's welcome again Mr. Kafui as he takes over the session.
If this were TV, I'll say welcome back. Brought to you by WIWIK, and all the sponsors will make this happen. So we're going to start off the colloquium, the chat. It's just a nice fancy name for chat, really, colloquium. Yeah. So the chat will be preceded by a conversation that Nancy, who was introduced by our speaker, our MC, is going to do for us now. So we're going to have Nancy on, who is coming on your screen, and then I'll have a chat with my friends here. So let's fix our attention. Yeah, that's kind of a sound heralding her entrance, so don't worry too much. All right, Nancy is coming up. Yeah, for effect. So twice. I told
Hello. I'm Nancy from New York City in the United States. Hello, I'm Nancy Halpern, and I'm joining you from New York City in the United States. I'm so pleased to be part of the What I Wish I Knew Summit. This is the second time I have joined other speakers on this platform, and it's a true pleasure. And I hope that my comments and observations and thoughts might stir something similar in you. I think I'd like to begin by just saying what it's like to be in New York City at this time in 2021, after having been in lockdown so long. I don't have a personal experience that's really extraordinary. I just want to be with you and like you part of a world that's gone through something that we don't know how to cope with except by coping with it. The impact that it's had is, you can't even scale it, can you? It's unthinkable, it's so large. But if I could, I'm going to try to link it to what we're here to reflect on, which is the art of self-leadership. We've been living in a time where we've had to be enormously reliant on ourselves to take care of each other. We've had to show some form of leadership, haven't we? If you're not vaccinated, that could impact someone else, whom you interact with, how you conduct yourself. And so when we think about the art of self-leadership, it's interesting, it's art, isn't it? It's not the science of self-leadership. Most leadership, traditionally, has been measured on science, on math, on known metrics. How much did you sell of something? How much did you spend on something else? But now we're living in a time where what's being asked of leadership is enormously different. What's being asked are a series of values and behaviors, from empathy to vision. And I think also, if I could, a maturity that really speaks to how we lead ourselves. So let's look at some of the ways self-leadership shows itself when you are leading an organization and leading others. The first thing, and I do have notes because it's a big topic and very important, every leader is going to make choices about their actions. Some of those are externally focused, some are internally focused. What markets will they enter? What products will they launch? How will they assess their competition? How will they raise money? How will they save money? And of course, huge questions internally. Do they have a successor? Whom should they hire? Should they expand? Should they add a new division? What messages will they share? What do those messages sound like? So I think those are the sort of mechanical, in a way, choices leaders have to make, and they manage their own thinking in that. Then there's the behavioral piece. Sometimes we think of this as EQ, and some leaders make those choices, and others just don't. They have a de facto way of leading. But I think what I'd like to suggest to you is this notion of self-leadership is actually the underlying foundation and core principle of everything a leader does. Because I define self-leadership as, I wrote it down, hang on, almost like a formula. Self-leadership equals curiosity plus self-evaluation minus ego or judgmentalism. Now, to unpack that, you have to have enough confidence to look at yourself and to find out what other people think of you as well, so that you can lead yourself in growing yourself, gather more insight, learn more all the time, adapt, be agile. But if you're too proud, you can tip into being very egotistical, which will blind you. You have to be able to be evaluative of what everyone tells you, but also, most of all, what you tell yourself. Because those assumptions will create conclusions for you. And they will once again be blockers, blinders, through which so much other information doesn't get in. But if you always question yourself, right, then you can end up never taking any action. Your fear can take over. So this is where the art comes in, right? We know self-leadership is important. We don't want others always telling us what to do. We want to be able to lead from ourselves. And yet you're always adapting, you're always changing, you're always evolving, so it gets better. So let me leave you with a practical framework. I think there are 3 things you can do as you develop and master the art of self-leadership. And they all begin with the letter A. First, ask. At this point in your career, you don't have to have the most brilliant question. You just have to admit that you don't know all the answers yet. So ask. The second is absorb. Be a sponge. Be grateful for this opportunity. You're at the highest absorption rate of your career right now. And the third is adapt. Adapt yourself. I would add a fourth A maybe, is acknowledge the gifts and the wisdom and the learnings of others. Take what's useful, discard what isn't, and just keep growing yourself all the time. And that's the art of self-leadership. Thank you.
Academic environment. She mentioned a beautiful formula for self-leadership. There were 4 elements in that formula. Can you tell me what the formula is? Just raise your hands. For a prize. Is there a hand up? Can we get a microphone to the person to give us the formula? Let's take a microphone to the person. Okay. So there's a hand up there for the formula for self-leadership, and then we'll go into our chat. Okay, so I can see a hand up there with a pink cuff over there. Okay. Has he got a microphone? Come to us. Okay, good. So self-leadership formula before we go into the chat. Just to test that you were really listening. What is it? Charlie, the guy wrote it down.
Okay, with the self-leadership formula.
Yes, indeed.
She mentioned curiosity.
Yes.
Confidence.
Yes.
You have to learn all the time. And have manners.
Charlie, I like your innovation, but I heard something plus something minus something minus something. It reminded me of Professor Ampiah. So you got the curiosity bit right. Yes. You still get a book from me anyway. Don't worry about that. But I want somebody to give me the formula. Self-leadership equals curiosity plus what? Those of you who are writing. Thank you, sir. Let's give him a hand for attempting. Curiosity plus self-evaluation minus what? Ego. And also and self-judgment. Self-judgment. Curiosity plus self-evaluation minus ego plus self-judgment equals self-leadership. When I'm finished, I'll ask Professor Ampiah to give us the chemical equation for that. C plus SE minus E plus SJ equals SL. Thank you so much. That brings us nicely into our conversation, our colloquium. I'm going to start with, in Ghana, we greet from the right to the left. Otherwise, you are accused of slapping people. We don't want that to happen. So I'm going to start from my extreme left, and I'll bring on the Honorable Dr. Kwamena Minta Nyarku, who is the Member of Parliament for the good people of Cape Coast North. In 90 seconds, tell us a little bit about what you do and why self-leadership is so important in your work.
Thank you very much. I think it all boils down to the word self. That is finding an introspection within yourself and what is it you can use that to be able to lead people. In your failure to lead yourself, you cannot lead others. That is what it is. So once you can lead yourself, you can equally lead other people. With my line of job, which is a Member of Parliament, I'm representing the Cape Coast North constituency. So what it means is that I need to showcase or project what my people within the constituency wants from the government, for which reason advocacy, for which reason we make a lot of representation. And then I have committees that I represent in Parliament. I'm with the Ministry of Youth, the Youth, Sports and Culture, and then Poverty Reduction Strategy Committees. Now what the Poverty Strategy Committee does is we look out for the poor areas within Ghana and make a report and make a recommendation to Parliament so that they'll be able to go to such specific areas and then whatever it is they need to do to be able to improve the lives of the people within those areas, the government will do that. With the Youth, Sports and Culture, we're looking at how we could position sports development in Ghana. So we have all these agencies, National Youth Authority, Sports Authority, all under the Youth, Sports and Culture. And then we also look at issues regarding chieftaincy because of culture. So we're looking at situations where trade issues could also with regards to tourism would also be done. But coining it up with the self-leadership, it's all about when I was growing up. When I was growing up, I was more competitive. With my competitiveness, it was being able to excel in whatever I did. And I think my parents were able to identify that amongst the kids that we were there.
Were you a sportsman?
Yes, I was a sportsman.
I can tell just by looking at you.
I was doing javelin, I was doing short put, I was playing football, I was playing hockey, I was playing, I swim a lot, I play badminton, and I did almost all the games. And then when I was in UCC, I was playing for Casford.
Shout out to Casford, are they here?
Yes, and luckily for me, I vied for the position of the presidency, and then I won. So I'm a former Casford Hall president as well. So those leadership traits were building up. An interesting story is one guy just noticed me one day and was like, why don't you think of contesting for the Hall presidency? So I asked, why do you ask? He said, because he identified one thing about me, which is my ability to establish positive relations. That's why I'm here, okay? Yeah.
Your ability to establish positive relationships.
Exactly. So I was very friendly on campus, extremely jovial. And because I was into sports and entertainment, I also had a lot more other relationships I was able to build. Interestingly, I was with the GAMSU, and then I was a GAMSU president at my time. It's very surprising. I'm sure it's the first time many of them are hearing it.
What is GAMSU?
GAMSU is the Ghana Methodist Students Association Union.
Okay.
And then what we did was that because I was thinking of going into leadership positions, I needed to establish relationships across wherever I could find myself.
Awesome.
And I'm sure that helped me in winning the presidency.
Thank you for those opening remarks. I think he needs to be rewarded with a round of applause. And now to Doris, you are involved in many things: financial advice, you give executive coaching and consulting. These three areas, how does self-leadership impact what you do? Slide it to the right.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah. It's okay now. Should be. Thank you very much. So just to carry on the back of honorables, I also was a sportswoman all the way to university, where I ran the 7-kilometer marathon for Ekwafu Hall. And I was the prayer secretary of GAMSU. I was a senator for Ekwafu Hall. I wasn't the president, but I was a senator. So you'd probably see some of these traits running through all of us that have been gathered into this room to share our experiences with you. And today I'm very happy to see so many of you here, because sometimes when the opportunity is given like this, you see a few people, and I sit here wondering, oh, do these people know what they are missing? So give it up to yourselves for committing time and to invest in yourself and development, which brings us to what I do as a consultant, as a coach, and hello? Yes. So as I work with people and as I help organizations to create solutions, and I work with people when it comes to coaching and consulting as well, C-suite executives, people leading and directing firms, for profit and for social impact alike, and for spiritual organizations as well. There's always one thing that stands out: being able to bring yourself under subjection. And I think Professor Ghartey made reference to some aspects of it when he used the word discipline. you see that a lot of what I do has to do with learning. And I avail myself to support others to learn, not learning as in what you do in the school, you read something and no, so that's another level of learning. And again, I think I picked from this stage that if you have to make all the mistakes yourself in order to learn, you can only learn so much in a lifetime. And my husband was telling me the other day, if you have to leverage your own capacities to be able to accomplish all that you can do, you need about 120 years to do that. But you can collaborate and lean on others to be able to do that. So that's what we do in consulting. And for anyone that I'm working with, you need to be able to deal with your ego. And so probably it may come up towards the end, but one of the things that you need to deal with if you are going to exhibit sustainable leadership qualities, and especially self-leadership, is to get over yourself. Life is not about you. Your life is not just about you. You are way bigger than that. But interestingly, when we get into ourselves, rather we feel like we are big as we are, and let me care only about myself. And so that's what we do. We help people to discover the potential that lies within. We help them to harness what they could do to address the issues that we have in our communities and in our organizations. I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you. There's 2,000 people here. I'm so impressed, and I think 80% of them are writing. But try and write as much as you can, because this is great. It's great apport for you. Yeah. Thank you very much, Doris. You can have it. And so now, Professor Ampiah, I'm just checking out where you've gone to teach, apart from what you're doing in Cape Coast. You ended up in the UK, in Canada, in China, in Australia, in Japan, in all your travels around the world and teaching here as well. How has self-leadership, the art of it, impacted your life as an academic?
Thank you very much, Kafui. As I said earlier on, in self-leadership, you've got to influence yourself. Influence yourself. Influence your thinking. You've got to focus purposely on guiding yourself to achieve your vision or your objectives. You've got to do that. Nobody has to do that for you. You have to do that for yourself. So it's important to note that if you want to lead people, you should be able to lead your own self. If you can't lead your own self, how do you lead others? So you don't wake up one morning and be a leader all at once. It's something that you develop. Even if within you, you think that you are a leader, you've got to develop that. For me, as a scholar in the university and academic, and looking at the things I have done, within my own university, I realized that in the university, it's all about leadership. If you teach, you can teach, lecture the whole of your time, but if you do not grow into leadership positions, then of course, you are really not a good academic. So you have to grow into leadership position. You cannot be just teaching all the time. So I had to develop myself in order to lead other people. And this I did right from the very beginning. And I can tell you that in doing that, I became a coordinator in the university where there was a research center, and I was in charge of that research center. And we did a very big project with some people from Bangladesh, India, UK, and South Africa. And doing the project is all about leadership. But if you are not leading yourself, you cannot lead other people. From coordinator, I became the head of Department of Science and Mathematics Education. And then had more people to lead. I moved from there and then became a dean of faculty of education. So if I'm not developing myself and leading myself, then I'll not be able to take on such a responsibility. Then from dean, I became the provost of the College of Education Studies. Then I became an acting pro-vice chancellor. Then I became the vice chancellor of the university. So it is the way you start. If you start and then you give up, if you have not developed yourself and you think that you can stand for certain positions, you will fail. But develop yourself first. Self-development. And then you can lead other people. Lead yourself to achieve your vision. And you can lead other people and help them to help you to achieve your vision. It is all about you. So it means that you need to focus on yourself. Somebody says, man, know thyself. You need to know who you are. You need to motivate yourself and make decisions which will enable you to achieve your objectives. You need to get the best out of yourself. You must always ask whether is this my best? Get the best out of yourself. This is important because if you don't do this, you will then not succeed and you begin to blame others for your failure when really you should be blaming yourself.
Thank you, Prof. Now, maybe the microphone doesn't like me too much. Let's see. Okay, let's try this and see. Yeah, behave, all right? We're at Cape Coast, behave. Okay, so now I want you to take out your writing equipment, your tools, your pens, whatever you write, or your phone, because this is now free consultancy. So all three panelists are going to give you their top 3 hacks for improving your self-leadership abilities. The top 3 things, according to them, by their own experience, that you need to succeed in leadership. Just listening to the first 2 speakers, I realized that if you train yourself physically and spiritually, you may be a good leader. Because I was listening to all the games they did, and then the religious associations that they had in school. And for me, those are the 2 hacks that I got. But I want to find out from them, what are the top 3 hacks that they can give you today? So by the end of this, probably you'll get 9 different things you can add to whatever you have to become great at leading yourself. I'll start with the Honorable first. What are the top 3 things that you think from your life as an academic and as a politician they can take to become better at leading themselves?
Thank you. The first I will talk about is building positive relationships. I think that has been my bait so far. When I was growing up, it's all about building relationships. And the second is be open-minded. Be very open-minded. And one time I was reading a book, and then it was stated in there, in your attempt to undermine one's intelligence, you are rather advertising your mental weakness. So in your attempt to undermine someone's intelligence, you are rather advertising your mental weakness. That will mean that be very open-minded. Don't think that people are not exactly what you perceive them to be. Be open-minded, appreciate people, and always make sure that you come in with the best that you can offer. That is the second that I'm going to talk about. The third one is positivity. Positive thinking. I don't entertain negative energies. So if you have any negative energy, you cannot gel with me. And as a leader, there's definitely going to be the time that people would critique what you do, or people will really question your decisions. But at the end of the day, you have to be positive in your ability to decipher what information that is being thrown at you. So in that bit, you will not be able to really undermine anyone's intelligence. These are the 3 things that has been working for me so far. Thank you.
Thank you. So positive relationships, open-mindedness, and positive thinking. POP. A deadly disease to have when you're a student and you can't speak to people. But this is actually positive. Positive relationships, open-mindedness, positive thinking. Doris, what are your 3 hacks?
I'll start with self-awareness, where self-awareness means you are curious not only about things around you and people around you, but you extend your curiosity to yourself. You seek to understand yourself, who you are, what you are capable of, where your strengths lie, and where you need to focus your learning so that you can improve. So for me, it's self-awareness first. And then the second one is learning mindset. Now, a learning mindset says that what I know is never enough, and I need to depend on the knowledge out there which I don't know. It keeps me humble and grounded. It helps me to collaborate, value relationships, and to partner. And so the second for me is a learning mindset. It helps me to grow. And again, it's supported by that curiosity. So it's like this time turning curiosity away from understanding and knowing myself to focusing on the parts where, after knowing myself, I know these areas I really need to learn to improve. And I should recognize those who have strengths in those areas. And interestingly, the third for me is positive intelligence, which is where the research has now reached with positive mindset. Being able to harness positivity, being able to develop the gray matter side of your brain so that you move your life from survival mode to thriving mode. In your engagement, you don't see the people around you to be coming after you. You don't see them to be threats to you, but rather you can live and enjoy feeling that whatever feedback they are giving you is something that will help you to become better. So these for me will be three: positive intelligence, a learning and growth mindset, and then self-awareness. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor Ampiah, your 3 hacks for developing self-leadership skills.
Thank you. I'll call it KFG. Yes. It's a formula. KFG. Know yourself. Number 1. Know yourself. Know your strength. Find out what your strengths are. But again, know what your weaknesses are. It's important so that you work on your weaknesses and you blow up your strengths. Work on your weaknesses. Weaknesses are fine. You see, the weaknesses, they will help you to remember that you are human. And then you work on the weaknesses. And then you blow your strength up. So know yourself, who you are, and work on your strengths and on your weaknesses. I say KFG, so that know is the first one. The F is focus on yourself. Don't focus on others. Focus on yourself. So if you focus on others, you are distracted. Focus on yourself. So that is the F. So you focus on yourself and what you can do. And then the D is develop yourself to achieve your objectives. You need to develop yourself. You need to improve upon yourself. You need to move from A to B in your life. Don't think that you can remain at the same place and be a self-leader. No. You need to develop yourself. So whatever you can do to develop every aspect of your life, please do. Know yourself, focus on yourself, develop yourself. Thank you.
Thank you. Just going through the 9 hacks that we have, I realized that indeed great minds do think alike, because you see commonalities between what they said. I mean, the Honorable said positivity twice, and there's a positive between the, I mean, if you did the Venn diagram, there was an intersection of positivity between, let's talk maths and things right now, you know, intersection of positivity between them. And then she talked about self-awareness, and he's talking about knowing yourself. So there's another Venn intersection going on there. So these things are common to people who want to succeed. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to create anything new. These are things that have been with us from the beginning of time. Different words for the same thing. So I hope you've noted all of them down. There may be a test, and there may be prizes. Let's pause with the chart right now, fix our eyes on the screen, because we have another person who is part of this chart who is joining us on the screen. He is Henry Baye, Chief Executive Officer of Standard Chartered in Jersey, UK. He's a banker with a lot of experience, leadership roles in retail banking, consumer banking, corporate and institutional banking, wealth management, accounting, and unsecured lending. Let's take a couple of minutes to listen to Henry Baye as he talks about mastering the art of self-leadership right here at WIWIK2021.
First of all, let me say a big thank you for the very warm words that have been said in introducing me. First of all, let me say a big thank you for the very warm words that have been said in introducing me. It is such an honor to be invited to this year's WIWIK conference and to have the opportunity to speak to the future leaders of our country and by extension, our world. I have to say, I'm really grateful to Bernard and the team for asking me to speak to this conference. And reason why I'm thankful is that conferences of this nature provide a fantastic opportunity for all of you to do what I am coming to talk about, which is the subject of self-leadership. So I've been asked to speak about self-leadership and the art of mastering that. So I also want to say a big ups to all of the other speakers who are speaking with me, and I've looked at the list of people who are speaking with me, and extremely well-respected leaders of our country and people that I have personally lots and lots of high regard for. And so I count it a real honor to be on the same platform with them. So I will be handling the subject of self-leadership mastery under 5 broad headings or questions, if you might call it. The first one is, what is self-leadership itself and how important is self-leadership? Secondly, I'd like to talk about the role of self-awareness and how that self-awareness has played a role in my own journey of self-leadership. Then I will address some of the challenges associated with self-leadership. Then I'll talk about how to build the right self-leadership habits, and then end to talking about self-growth. So one of the important things in self-leadership is, first of all, to understand what self-leadership is all about. And I should say that there is a local proverb that says in our local language that you cannot carry another person on your shoulder unless you yourself are standing on solid ground. So what is self-leadership? Self-leadership is, first of all, about influencing and managing yourself. To what end? To achieve goals. Everything about life is about goals, and also to help you perform more effectively. And I would say also that it is how we influence ourselves towards the fulfillment of our own defined purposes. Now, self-leadership is important, whether we're in leadership or not. So don't think this conversation is for leaders. Self-leadership is crucial in every leadership position, though. And our ability to provide effective leadership will be largely dependent on our ability to first lead ourselves. In our local language, there's a proverb that says, if a naked person said, I will give you clothes to wear, listen to him carefully and possibly ignore him. So leading self underpins the very concept of leading by example. Implied in the subject of leading by example means that you yourself can embody what you are expecting other people to do or to represent. So you see, when you are entrusted with the position like that of a CEO,
you have 4 main areas that you must steward. And I use the steward very carefully, and I've selected that very carefully. First of all, you have to think about the interest of your shareholders. The second important thing is you must think about your human capital or the people you lead. Thirdly, you must think about your clients. And finally, you must think about the community in which you operate. And when you take a look at any position of leadership in which you find yourself, you will also find that you can identify your own areas that have been committed to your stewardship. Just look at yourself, and I'm sure many of you in this room are leaders in one position or the other. You will find that whatever has been entrusted to you will be largely aligned to the areas I have mentioned, which applies to positions like that of a CEO. So our positions are positions of trust. The weight of that trust that leaders are given is such that our destinies rest on it. Other people's destinies rest on it. And so many other stakeholders' destinies rest on it. That is why it is called a trust. And the foundation of trust is built on the person. This is why in the role of a leader of an organization or a CEO or whoever you are, you yourself and what you stand for comes ahead of what you are capable of achieving. That is why for certain positions, when you attend interviews, nobody is really looking at what you have achieved and how strong you are and how great a person they are. They are looking at who are you. The who are you is at the very heart of the difference between people who lead and achieve short-term results and people who lead and achieve sustainable results. The success of anything that is entrusted to a steward is largely dependent on who that steward is. Now, one of the most powerful analogies of this responsibility is one that is stated in a parable that is told in the Bible, of 3 people, and I'm sure all of you know this parable very well, of 3 people who were trusted with what was called in the Bible talents, or in today's parlance we would say capital, to look after. 2 of them went right away and did business and doubled the money they were given. And the 3rd person went away petrified by fear and lack of confidence and did not even have the presence of mind to deposit the money in the bank and make some interest. So what does this story tell us? It underscores why self-leadership is so critical. Now let me go on here and share with you a few of the several reasons why leading self is so important in leadership. There are some critical qualities that successful leaders possess, which can only be built by leaders who are great at self-leadership. And I will talk about 5 of these. The first one is trust and credibility, and I've mentioned that in passing. Number 2 is emotional intelligence. Number 3 is self-awareness. Number 4 is discipline. And number 5 is courage and resilience. Now, pick any of these words and you will find that they are central to every successful leader. So I'll start with the first one, which is trust. That at the heart of true impactful leadership is building trust and credibility. To influence people as a leader, first of all, you must have credibility with them. Nobody follows somebody they don't trust. If you tell me to follow you and I'll take you to get money, I first of all must look at you and be sure that you're somebody who can help me find that money. So to be a credible leader requires that you must fundamentally have a solid base of philosophy. Solid base of philosophy that defines your values. And therefore that helps you build habits that put you out as credible. Trust is important. And leaders must build themselves and build it in the people they lead. So leadership is about working with people to reach a defined destiny. If the visually impaired person leads another visually impaired person, of course, they will fall into a ditch and it will be a total disaster. The second piece is emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is a phrase that has become very common. It's almost become a cliche now to hear the phrase emotional intelligence. But it's one of the central qualities leaders must possess in order to be impactful. Now, being emotionally intelligent requires, first of all, understanding how your own emotional landscape is like and how the things you do and say affect the emotional landscape of others. And exercising control over the two landscapes is what I consider as emotional intelligence. The third important thing there is self-awareness, and it's so important for leaders. There is a saying that he who knows not and knows that he knows not, he is a fool. This is the disaster of lack of self-awareness. If you do not know yourself well enough as a leader, you are an accident waiting to happen. I have to say that the best leaders are self-aware, that they will not be the only ones in whom all knowledge resides, for example. They will know that they only thrive by making use of both their own ideas and those of others to achieve great results.
From my panelists, what they made of some of the ideas that he shared. Who would like to take the first bite at whatever you're saying? Doris? Yes.
Thank you. I'll take that. And I'll pick on fear. It's very, very important when he touched on the fact that to be a self-leader, you have to be courageous. And both John C. Maxwell, 21 Invaluable Laws of Leadership Laws, and 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, and then Bill George of Authentic Leadership, True North. They are books that you would want to look out for. Both of these great men agree that the most difficult person to lead is yourself. And I agree that it's very difficult for anyone to lead themselves because we are able to resist ourselves. When we are leading others, we can compel them to do things without being sensitive, and that's how come we have dictatorships and autocratic leadership. But when it comes to getting yourself to submit in the actions that you take, in the thought patterns, in the attitude, and in the mindset, so that you are directed towards where you want to get to, it takes some doing. And oftentimes, one of the things that can stand in your way is fear. When you are afraid, you can be compelled to do something by a third party, even though you are afraid. But to compel yourself to do something yourself, when you know that you are afraid to do it, takes a lot of effort. And it's also the area where if you build experience and resilience, it can really make you indomitable. It makes you fearless. And I want to share my example here. I used to be very afraid of water. I talk about this a lot. I was so afraid of water that if I'm in the shower and the water is it's coming very fast, there's good pressure and it's coming, I feel like I'm going to drown. So I decided to enroll with a swimming instructor to go and face that fear of drowning, of water. And this is what happened. On my first day, I get in the water and I'm trying to save myself from drowning. And that means that I'm stiffening my body in the water. And the more I try to save myself by stiffening and struggling, the deeper I sank into the pool. So the instructor just gave me this direction. Look, relax and trust the water to carry you. And I said a prayer. I decided to entrust my life in the hands of God. And I sort of came to the realization that if I'm going to die, I'll die anyway, whatever I do. And if I was not going to die, surely I will not die. And I relaxed. And that's how I managed to learn to swim. Now, I left that swimming pool, not just with the freedom that now I can face water, but it sort of shifted something in my mind with regards to anything at all that I could potentially be afraid of. I sort of felt that I can face it. I mean, I'm afraid of it, but I can just go and look at it in the eye. I may be afraid to sit in front of a group like this to speak or stand and do something. I may not be confident to do something, but I can try it anyway. I can just face that fear. And Henry did mention that fear sometimes limits us. That thing which you should take action, you should take a step and do. You mentioned POP or something. I'm not sure what direction that was going to. But when you choose to face that fear, it's amazing the learning, the growth that will happen in you, and how it actually sets you up to be able to do even greater things. So these are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doris. So her takeaway was fear and how to overcome it. Honorable, what's your key takeaway from Henry's presentation? And can you give us a story to illustrate it?
I think it's about self-awareness. I think he was very hard on that. And I think that also supports Prof's initial submission, that man know thyself. Your ability to undertake any activity is dependent on what you can do as a person. So what I'm taking from him is our ability to self-assess ourselves. If you self-assess yourself, you get to know what you can do and what you can't do. And that is what will swallow the fear, because you've done what we call analysis. You do a SWOT analysis of yourself. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the opportunities that are available to you? And those threats that are likely to impede your progress. So for me, I think it's about us being aware of ourselves and be able to craft strategies that will help you to project yourself positively in a bit to minimize your negative aspects that you have to do. Once you know yourself, you know which ways to go and which other ways to avoid. You could fall on other people's traits to be able to catapult your weakness. And as I said, that is why a lot of leaders do what we call delegation. In your ability not to be able to undertake a particular stuff, you give to someone else to do it on your behalf, and you could do it equally better for you. So in my own view, I think we should assess ourselves and get to know what we can do better in our bid to improve our leadership skills. Thank you.
How do you assess yourselves? Give them some tips on how you go about assessing yourself.
Okay. Different scenarios would make me behave in a particular way. It's different. Let's take it in. When I wanted to contest for the whole presidency, the guy that I was contesting with was, or is, Roxin Damefam. He is currently the MP for, is it? And then he was representing Casford on what do you know quizzes on campus. So he was very known on campus, but he was not into sports and stuff. So I wanted to use my ability to be able to use my sports as a bait to be able to get that leadership role. I wasn't part. Those that I wasn't part, I was still present to be able to at least sing, do some jama, all these things in my bid to get people to like me. In my bid to get people to know that I'm contributing to whatever all was done. So that helped me in one way or the other. So when we were in Honey, because I was not regarding sports and academics, regarding religious activities and stuff, that really helped me to win the presidency. And I think it's good for me to know myself, because I realized that my ability to build those relationships was what was going to help me. Now, when I became the MP, I was able to use those relationships to bring all my friends to UCC. I think ago, them here, identify some projects they could collectively put together and support our alma mater. And I think it's about self-awareness and my ability to net the positive relationships that I've built over time to be able to get the best out of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And for you future politicians, know that in Ghana, sports and religion, those are your key places to develop your relationships Sports and religion. That's the point you should take from this one. Prof, what's the big takeaway from Henry's presentation for you?
For me, I've been talking. I've been talking about self-awareness, and I think that he really stressed on it. So I want to add to what my brother has just said. See, the most important skill for developing self-leadership is a strong sense of self-awareness. That's why I say, man, know thyself. Strong sense of self-awareness, knowing who you are and what you can do. So don't demean yourself. Don't belittle yourself. If you do that, you will look small in everybody's eyes. Don't belittle yourself and don't demean yourself. And what I want you to take home today is that do not be afraid to make mistakes. Because mistakes are raw materials for progress. Mistakes, they are raw materials for progress. So you make a mistake today and you do not repeat that and you correct yourself, you have made progress. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. And don't let those mistakes that you make pull you down, because those mistakes will help you to make progress in your life. Thank you.
You taking a picture of Prof when he said that mistakes are. Please put the phone down. And raw materials. That's definitely a tweetable tweet. And I'm going to tweet it on my Twitter handle pretty soon. You can follow me on Kafui Day. I'll follow you back. Mistakes are raw materials for progress. Think of Edison. They claimed 10,000 experiments gave us what we have now, light bulbs. 10,000 mistakes, so 10,000 examples of raw materials for progress. So keep doing it. Of course, don't do the same thing all the time, because that's madness. Okay? Different remixes and innovations until you get what you want. So mistakes are the raw materials for progress. Let's take Henry's concluding remarks, and when they come back, they are going to each tell me one leader they look up to who has mastered the art of self-mastery, self-leadership, and why they look up to that person. And that will wrap up our chat, aka colloquium. So Henry's concluding remarks will come back for the one leader that they look up to each and why. All right? So back to Henry.
Now, in this section, I would like to talk about the subject of self-growth as an important concept of our journey. Now, again, growth is central to the subject of our self-leadership. There are a number of things I've said, and I've said they are central. Self-awareness, for example. Self-growth is another one. If something is called a living thing, or anything that is called a living thing, the reason it's called a living thing is because it grows. And for those of you who have children or have seen your siblings or neighbors' children grow, you can understand that being a living thing is measured in growth. I've had the privilege of being a farmer before, and I've seen how small fish, which we call fingerlings, that weigh a small fraction of a gram, can grow to weigh a quarter of a kilo, or even a third of a kilo, or even more than a kilo. There's a very important analogy I like to bring around self-growth, and it's around plants and how plants grow. Every plant has two parts, what we see and what we don't see. What we see is what is above the soil, and what we don't see is what is buried under the soil. And there is a mechanism that allows the two parts of the plant to symbiotically feed each other. In animals, nutrients circulate through the body using the bloodstream, and in plants, there is a network of tissues and fibers called the vascular system that carry out this task. The vascular system is comprised of two main types of tissues. We've got the xylem and the phloem vessels. I'm sure all of you remember this in your biology lessons. The xylem is the one that distributes water and dissolved minerals upward from the root through the plant and into the leaves. And the other one, the phloem vessels, carry food downwards from the leaves to the roots. So when you all know about photosynthesis, the leaves convert oxygen and stuff into food that goes to feed the root. So you have to feed your roots and feed the superstructure. So if you look at this analogy, it's important to understand that growing involves two things. What is not seen, which is in us, which helps us to build qualities like courage and resilience and integrity and passion and conviction and reliability. Most of the things that happen to build that, nobody sees that. These are unseen, and they translate on the outward into how we communicate, how we treat other people. So for example, to build your ability to be resilient and not to crack easily under pressure, it requires a certain grounding in faith or philosophy. It requires constant self-talk. It requires keeping a positive mindset and requires having the courage of your convictions. These help you to build resilience. And I've spoken already about the time we've all have been through in the world and how the need for resilience has become such a big discussion. Now, it's important to note also that there's a certain kind of correlation that exists between the trees that grow the tallest and the ones that have the deepest roots. If you're going to be a really, really tall tree, your roots must really be deep, not just to bring feeding from the ground, but also to keep you stable. And so it is really important to feed what is inside, and that is what will also feed what is outside. So if you're looking to grow very tall, meaning you want to really go very high as a leader, then you have to feed your roots. The people who become almost indispensable to organizations are those who deepen their understanding and knowledge of particular areas, and they now get referred to as subject matter experts. And the leaders who make the most impact are the ones who are deeply rooted in the right convictions, and they are also able to provide the right kind of leadership that people want to follow.
You can go deep. And when he started talking about xylem, some of you said, I thought I escaped this biology from SHS. What is xylem doing here? All right? But it's great. I like the whole scientific thing about today's event. We promised that we're going to give you 3 leaders from our 3 panelists and why they have chosen those people to be their templates for self-leadership. I'll start with the Honorable. Who is one of your top leaders, and why have you chosen that person?
I think let's see what happens. Hello?
Maybe you have to come forward. Let's see.
Sure, probably. Thank you. I may sound a bit biased, but that is because people may read other interpretations into the... Yes. To me, my leader, or the person I look forward to meeting him again, is President John Mahama. Right. I like the reaction. I know him personally, and I also appreciate his leadership skills. He is someone that appreciates mistakes, accepts them, and takes calculated steps of trying to put them right. He's a perfect gentleman. He takes good decisions. And he is someone that has the ability to marshal resources to deliver on a project. And I think I don't have to really itemize the things that he's done for our country. So for me, I think he's a good leader. Thank you.
Hi. Hello?
Hi.
Hello? The person that I have looked up to as don't worry, it's not Madame Teresa. No, it's not Mother Teresa. It's actually Jesus. And I grew up with scriptures like the one in Philippians 4:8, which says that whatsoever things are good, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are pure. So it taught me to be positive. Then there's another scripture. It also talks about helpfulness. You may want to look it out. And these are some of his teachings as ended up in the Bible. There's 1 Timothy 4, chapter 12, that says that do not let anyone look down on you because you are young, but in all things, in speech, in deed, in faith, in love, set an example. So I used to be naughty. And when I started becoming self-aware, and I noticed that I could get away with things that my disciplinarian parents couldn't find out, and I found Christ, I realized that I needed to be accountable to myself. It didn't matter whether anybody saw what I did or not. So that's self-accountability, etc., setting an example. And then this scripture was what guided me, and it still does. A friend of mine was telling me now, I don't qualify for young, so I have to be looking at some 35. But for a fact, that is what has guided me. And I told her it's a gift I want to share with you, that you shouldn't let anyone look down on you because of your age, but set an example. And don't set an example in pretense. Set the example in originality. This is who you are when no one is looking. And seek to impact others in that example that you are setting. Thank you.
So, 2 J's. So.
We had John. And we had
2 J's.
Thank you very much, Kafui. It was Paul who said, imitate me as I imitate Christ. The one I look up to is Jesus Christ. And I look up to Jesus Christ because Jesus was a teacher. He taught like no other man. And he taught with authority. Jesus had influence. He influenced many people. And anyone who met him had a change in one way or the other. He changed lives. And therefore, I look up to him. The things he did. To imitate him. And to draw my strength from him. That is why he's the one I look up to. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you, my panelists. Put our hands together for my distinguished panel, who's done a great job, from Helen and Ms. Halpern and Henry Baye on the screen, to Honorable and Madam Doris and Professor Ampiah for their thoughts on mastering the art of self-leadership. I realized that there was an uproar when the Honorable Member of Parliament for the good people of Cape Coast North named somebody from the other side of the political divide. But let me tell you something, that, you see, leaders can appreciate the strengths of other people. They don't have to be in your team for you to appreciate their strengths. I can bet you that if you were to ask Messi about Ronaldo's strengths, he could say it. And if you were to ask Ronaldo about Messi's strengths, he could also say it. And they could even say it openly, because you admire people that are at the top of their game. And so that's something that you should learn. You do not have to dislike somebody and negate all their qualities just because they're on the opposite team. So you've taught a great lesson here, Honorable. You've taught us great lessons, Doris, and you've taught us great lessons to Professor. Let's give them a big round of applause as they make their way back to their seats. And we continue with WIWIK 2021. We're live on WIWIK Global on Facebook. So you've got questions? Yeah, so if you have any questions, this is the time to ask your questions, and we'll give the microphones to our panelists for them to answer the questions. Just raise your hand, and the microphone will come to you, hopefully without all the sound effects that you were hearing when we were speaking. So, any questions? So you have questions. Do they line up to come in? Yes. Socially distanced line. Yes. 5 questions. 5 questions. Remember, the person who asks the questions is the person who has the power. Okay? Yeah, so 5 questions. I heard the ladies at Cape UCC were very curious. I don't see the evidence. No ladies are asking questions. It's all guys. All right, so some questions. I'll give you a microphone. And you ask your question. Hello? Okay, you have a microphone. Okay, good. Yes, so let's sanitize that. So go ahead. What's your question?
Okay, thank you, Kafui.
Welcome.
Good evening, Professor Ghartey. I'm happy to have you here. My question is like this. In fact, it's a very, very important question to my heart. Because so far as education is concerned,
Come this way.
Is it okay? Okay. I always believe in education is the key to sustainable development. I believe we are all here because of the education. Now, I want to ask all of you, now the current state of the education system.
Where's the question, sir?
Yes, the question is, is there any future or any hope for the next generation with respect to the current state of the education system? Thank you.
Is there hope? Does the education system offer hope? All right. So that's a hope question. Just gather them and then you can sit down and get the responses. Yeah? Next one. Keep the questions as brief as possible. Thank you.
Ms. Doris, please, my question is, what is the thin line between fear and pain as it comes in leadership?
Thank you. Brief question. I'll tell you why I like brief questions when they finish asking their brief questions. All right?
Thank you. My question has to do with relationship between leadership and business or work. So I would like to know if you are building self-leadership, does it have any relationship or impact on your career goals? Thank you.
Self-leadership and career goals. Thin line between pain and fear, and then hope for education.
Well, mine is a suggestion to the prof. In his earlier submission, he said the billboard made an impact in his life. So I was wondering if he can take the initiative to mount that billboard again to influence someone.
What a suggestion.
Thank you. My question is, in the submission of the various pundits, I realized that one of the threads that was running through all they said is self-awareness. So I wanted to ask, how do you become self-aware? How do you become self-aware? Thank you.
It's brief enough. Thank you. The ladies have been represented. Hello.
Please, my question is about, like, our leaders are all talking about self, knowing yourself and all about yourself. Sometimes we are forced to take certain decisions that we are not comfortable with. How can something good come out from these decisions taken up, like from others, like our parents? How can we come out with something positive from these decisions that we are forced to take?
Thank you very much. All right, so we've got some responses. Are we done? Are you in Fergie time? A question. This is a Fergie time question. Are you a Man U fan? Are you a Man U fan? You're not a Man U fan. Why are you asking questions in Fergie time?
Please, I want to ask, who is a successful person? And does the worth of someone determines how the person is successful?
Do riches make you successful? All right. So we've got a couple of questions here to be answered. And the shorter the questions, the better. My hero, all-time hero, is the broadcast legend Larry King, who died earlier this year. He can ask questions like, what happened? That's all. What surprised you? And you keep quiet and you listen to you. And those questions are very powerful. So the shorter, the better. Now, let's have some brief answers from the short questions. Who goes first? Prof. Okay, ladies first. Let's sanitize the mic and give it to her. Okay. You're welcome.
I want to start with the short question, or the shortest question. And it said that, where do we draw the thin line between pain and leadership?
Yeah. Pain and fear.
Sorry.
Fear.
Pain and fear.
Yes.
Okay. I believe with regards to leadership. And so I want to take it from that angle. In leadership, there's a lot of sacrifice that is required continually for you to maintain either self-leadership or leadership of whoever you are accountable and responsible for. And it can be painful when you have to sacrifice so much. Now, where fear comes in is that you need to learn to take action despite the fear within. And we call that courage. When you fail to take action while afraid, you will live to endure pain. And so pain can be born out of fear. If you fail to act in courage despite the fear that you have within. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay. The second question I want to take is self-awareness. And I want to take it because I teach these things. There's a university since 2 years ago that engaged me, and I was teaching them emotional intelligence. And for executives as well, I teach these things. There are assessments I do with them. There are commitments they make over a 21-day period to build new neural pathways in the brain, which helps them to form new habits that reflect what they want to become and where they want to go. And so self-awareness, like I indicated earlier, starts with curiosity to know and understand yourself. There are assessments out there. We have the DISC assessment. We have the Myers-Briggs assessment. We also have the Enneagram assessment. Long ago, some of you may have heard about the 4 temperaments, Tim LaHaye. And so there are many tools that we use to assess on the go. And maybe I can offer to work with 5 people for on terms that we can discuss, but largely as good as a giveaway, so that maybe the organizers can find out those 5 people. So we go through the assessment and we are able to come up with what may be your strengths, what may be your weaknesses, but they are not static because the environment impacts us day in, day out. And like I said, we can work with people to develop new habits, form new strengths. You can work on it and then improve on whatever you have at the beginning. But to start with being curious. And another key ingredient is humility. Accepting your humanity. That this is who I am, this is what I am, where do I start from? let me find out more about this organism that I live with, I sleep with, I wake up with. And besides what you find out yourself, besides what you get from the assessment, all the assessments, they are garbage in, garbage out. If you are not being honest, absolutely authentic, and you are mentioning qualities about yourself that are not really true, we will end up with some feedback about you that may not be accurate. And so your absolute honesty is required. You don't need to overthink it. You don't have to analyze too much. And the third piece is 360-degree feedback. Interaction with people who know you, who are not looking for favor from you. And people that are not afraid to tell you the truth. That's another source of information that helps you in determining your self-awareness, who you are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Professor Ampiah, though, is there hope for the Ghanaian education system?
Let me face there. Let me face
It requires you to stand up and answer.
I want to stand up and answer. Any hope for the next generation, so far as our education system is concerned? I will say yes. Yes, I will say yes. And I believe in that. You see, many times we talk about this system is not good, this system is not good, and it's about reproducing this and reproducing that, and we keep changing the education system, and people are not comfortable. There was a day when I was invited to give a paper in the Japan Forum, SOS Education Forum in Japan. Africans are not inferior to anybody in this world. And that if we look at their universities, people from Africa had come there and they have excelled beyond their own Japanese students. But where they're coming from, the education system is very different. That they have come. You complete your studies here, that you can hold your own anywhere in the world. You can. I had my education system right here in Ghana. My primary school was at Reweso Early Primary. Reweso. That's where I went to school. Then I went to Technology Secondary School. That was at KNUST. I did my first degree here, UCC. I did my master's here in UCC. I did my PhD here in UCC. Yes. I was the first student to graduate with a PhD in science education in the Faculty of Education, University of Cape Coast. And every in this world, I've been able to hold my own. Yes. The education is all about developing the minds of the students. If you develop their minds, no matter what the curriculum looks like, if you develop their minds and you open it up, they are capable of doing anything and adapting to anything. So I think that we punish ourselves too much in criticizing our education system. Many countries keep changing their education system as well. If you go to Japan, they are trying to change the education system. They are not happy with it. They can change it. If you go to America, they've been changing the education system, trying all sorts of things. What is important is what you are learning and how you are learning it. Open your mind and learn. The same textbooks used there are the textbooks we are using here. Newton's laws of motion is taught in America. It's also taught in Ghana here. And I think that we should not belittle ourselves and think that we are inferior to anybody. We are not. The things you are learning here may not be the same things you learn elsewhere. But when you go there, you will excel. And that is what is important.
Somebody says I should mount the billboard. I will throw that one to Kafui there because you said you're going to Instagram. So take it there and mount it there. The last one I want to talk about is, who is a successful person? I think I've addressed this matter in a talk on ATL before. You see, we don't have successful person. That is the first thing. You could be successful in something, but not a successful person. You could be successful in your marriage, but you may not be successful in your business. You could be successful in this, but not successful in that. Do we then say that you have failed? No. So you must be specific. If you want to be successful, focus on something specific and be successful in it. You may not be successful in everything, but you'll be successful on the things that you focus on and work on. Thank you.
Yeah, it's here. So there was one question from the lady who asked about if the lady is around who asked the question, can you just repeat the question for me? I know she said something about you ask you when you're facing problems from. Yes, Bernard, you remember the question. What was the question? So the Honorable will answer the question. You remember it? Okay, what was the question? It's like your parents are deciding for you and you don't like the decisions they make. Is that it? Yeah. No, she's nodding. She's nodding. He's saying yes. You wanted to do one course and your father says you do something else. Is that like that kind of thing? Is that it? She's coming to clarify her own question. Thank you. I beg, ask your own question. Oh.
Yeah, my question is, all our leaders are talking about we knowing ourselves. That is how we can build our leadership skills. And then in some homes especially, our parents are forcing us to take decisions that we are not comfortable with. Like my father can say, let me do science. And I said, I am good in the business field. So how can something good come out for me doing science, even if I know myself that I'm good in the business field?
So the age-old issue of daddy says, do this. And because you live under his roof, you do something that you didn't want to do. Honorable, you want to ask that one? Yes. Speak to your constituents.
Thank you very much, Kafui. Well, I think when I was growing up, I was a top seed. I used to always argue and then always not to take stuff straight away. When I was going to Adesado, my forms, my parents asked which schools I wanted to attend. And you were supposed to have 3 choices. So the first one I picked Adesado College. The second one I picked Adesado College. I picked Adesado College. And my father was, are you okay? Because that was the only college I wanted to attend. I wasn't prepared to begin for any other school. He asked me to do science. Good with science. So the next year, the Form 2, I shifted to business. And I never told him that. Because I knew he was going to fight with me. He wanted to be a doctor. He couldn't become a doctor, and he thinks I should become the doctor. You cannot transfer your vision to mine. Yeah, so on that note, I shifted to do my business, and I excelled well. And he was very happy that I was able to do better, even though I was against his will. I think some of these things you need to be sitting your parents down and then let them understand and appreciate the fact that you are the one that is building your future, not them. And I'm sure once that is done, cooperation will be here. Thank you.
And I'll just end on that note. I just want to end. So I have a perfect example of this. So, good friend of mine, he became my best man when I was getting married. His father was a doctor. wanted him to be a doctor also. So he basically pushed him to become a doctor. He didn't really like it in the beginning. He wrote the A-levels, didn't do too well, had to write them again. In the end, became a doctor, but he's also a doctor and he's also doing what he likes to do, which is music. So if you know the musician Nilante, Nilante is a medic by day, musician by night. He's a consultant at Snake Hospital, so he's up there in the medicine. He's come to love the thing that he didn't like. And I want to recommend a book for you. It's by Cal Newport, New N-E-W-P-O-R-T. Cal, his first name, short for California, or whatever, Cal Newport. And the book is So Good They Can't Ignore You. So good they can't ignore you. And his basic idea is that skill will always trump passion. So I'm passionate about this, I'm passionate about, but if you find something that you can do well, it will lead you to mastery. And then people will look for you. So look for that book, So Good They Can't Ignore You by Cal Newport. It will answer some of these questions. I want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to moderate the colloquium. I shall now sit down. But before that, I want to announce that tomorrow, 9 o'clock to 11, be my guest at Sasakawa Guest House. I have a training session for 2 hours, 9 to 11. It's on public speaking. So if you want to be as great as Bernard, or Prof, or Doris, or Honorable, you want to be at Sasakawa Guest House, 9 a.m. to 11. Thank you. God bless.
I don't know about you. I don't know about you. Hello. All right. I don't know about you, but I really feel empowered. Is the feeling mutual? Yes, this is a period that we've gleaned so much from these great personalities. I think it's just in order that we appreciate them with another resounding applause. Thank you very much. So we have some goodies up for grabs. If you have an entrepreneurial idea, all right, take this number, 054 66 70 903, and send us an email with your entrepreneurial idea. We'll have from Bridge Hub a 20,000 CD seed for capital. All right, so seed capital, 20,000 CD to push your entrepreneurial idea, and it's sponsored by the Bridge Hub. So that's the number that you're going to send your idea to. It's a good opportunity. Okay, so let me take the number again. Someone is going to smile today. 05. There's a certain conspiracy against you having the 20. But the number is 054 667 0903. So send your idea to it. There's also another for grabs, and for 1,250 Ghana cedis, please send a WhatsApp. Send a WhatsApp to 050 9732 535. 050 9732 535. And we're giving out a scholarship for any project management course for 5 lucky winners. It could be yours, so take advantage of it. Right about now, ladies and gentlemen, I think we can have a spot of music. Kwampa Band is set to just help us digest all that we have heard. So they are right after Kwampa Band, we'll get to another very important part of this evening's gathering, where we get to hear the keynote presentation. I'll let you into who our keynote speaker a bit when Kwampa Band is done. Ladies and gentlemen, Kwampa Band.
Thank you. So we just want to quickly stretch because of our sitting. We've been sitting for a very long time, and we're going to do that in a special way. Show by hand if we're born on Monday. Monday, show by hand. Monday, great. Tuesday, great. Wednesday, great. Thursday, great. Friday, wow. Saturday, and finally Sunday. Hey, Sunday, Modoson. Hey. All right, so it's very simple. I'll mention the day on which you were born, and then if you were born on that day, you get up, you give us a dance where you are standing, and you sit down. And by the time we are done, it means every one of you that had the opportunity to shake your body. So Mondays, are you ready? Or it's a cliche, and starting from Monday, it's like, which day should we start from? Sunday, Friday, and Friday it is. Friday, this is for you. A one, a two, a three, a go. Obiaraya on a Friday, I'm go to, oh sorry. Obiaraya on a Friday, I'm go to, oh sorry. La 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 la. Saturday, Obiaraya on a Saturday, I'm go to, oh sorry. Obiaraya on a Saturday, I'm go to, oh sorry. La 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 la. Sunday, Obiaraya on a Sunday, I'll go to. Wow, Obiaraya on a Sunday, I'll go to. I'm sorry. La 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 la. Monday, Obiaraya on a Monday, I'll go to. I'm sorry. Obiaraya on a Monday, I'll go to. I'm sorry. La 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 la. Tuesday, Obiaraya on a Tuesday, I'll go to. I'm sorry. Obiaraya on a Tuesday, I'll go to. I'm sorry. La 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 la. Wednesday, Obiaraya on a Wednesday, I'll go to. I'm sorry. Obiaraya on a Wednesday, I'll go to. I'm sorry. La 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 la. Thursday, Obiaraya on a Thursday, I'll go to. I'm sorry. Obiaraya on a Thursday, I'll go to. I'm sorry. La 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 la. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot of you were not born. This one is for those who were not born. Obiaraya will know day. Obiaraya will know day. All of you are not born. La 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 la. A final one. Everybody, all days. Obiaraya will know all days. I'll go to. I'm sorry. Obiaraya will know all days. I'll go to. I'm sorry. La 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 la. And we take the final song. You are still dancing. Final song. Listen to this. Inke ize. Ade inke ize. Abaye, dawa. Abaye, dawa. Abaye, dawa. Abaye, dawa. Hey, thank you.
That was a good one, wasn't it? Again, let's appreciate Kwampa Band. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you into a few things that are happening, especially around this conference. At the beginning, we asked you to send an Instagram message, a DM, for the $500 coaching support, and you were sending it to Propelled Scholar on Instagram. We have winners now. Yes, so much later, we will have them receive. They'll come here, and then we see them and put our hands together for them. But we have winners, 2 of them who are going home with $500 coaching support, worth of coaching support. It's a good place to appreciate the organizers. For now, though, we've come to another very important part of our gathering tonight. I'm bringing up someone who's speaking to us. He's a Ghanaian media personality and the general manager of Citi FM and Citi TV. He's widely regarded by many as one of the most influential Ghanaian journalists and was awarded the best Ghanaian journalist in 2017 by the Ghana Journalist Association. Every morning you hear his voice on the Citi Breakfast Show, and he's been hosting this for more than a decade. Not only that, he's on the point of view on Citi TV and the Citi Breakfast Show. He was also named the best radio morning show host. He's a member of the Governing Council of the Global Marketing Network in Ghana, and as founding director of the iJournal Africa, he trains and creates opportunities for participants to practice citizen journalism and equips them with tools to cover local issues. Ladies and gentlemen, he is a holder of the Bachelor's of Arts in Economics with distinction from the University of Ghana, from WIWIK Business School. He is a UK Sheving Scholar where he obtained his MBA in marketing. And ladies and gentlemen, he is none other than Mr. Bernard Avle. Please help me, let's make welcome our keynote speaker.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am very excited to be here. I feel very honored to be called upon to deliver the keynote address. In many ways, I feel this is like a trap because everything that has to be said has already been said. I mean, a panel with five very erudite people, one in the US, one in the island of Jersey, a member of parliament, a former VC, and my trainer, HR consultant. Really, there's not too much to say. But I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to be here. In 2015, I remember coming to a small room opposite Sasakawa to come and speak to about 30 people. And they called it WIWIK. At the time, Bernard Tewia was in level 400 or so. 7 years down the line, I'm told we are 2,000. That means we've multiplied by over 50 times. And if you needed any evidence that you are in a world-class institution, this event is it. Because he's not only brought a former VC and your current MP, but he's live streaming across the world. And the evidence of the leadership is that the man is not even here. When I was about to set off from the hotel at 5:34 p.m., he was in New Zealand calling me by Zoom. And he was in the next day. So we are in Friday, he's already in Saturday. So it's such a privilege to be here. And I want you to know you are part of something that's growing. And it's very exciting. It's also humbling to see your former Vice Chancellor pour his heart out. When we were in Legon, we were afraid of our Vice Chancellors. When you see or hear of Akila Basoya, the name alone can cast out demons. Akil Lakbas. You can't even spell it. I mean, and to have a VC sit here from 5 o'clock till this time, please put your hands together for Professor Ghartey. It was very difficult to get an MP to come for an event. This is between 2000 and I know that the is more difficult now than it was in those days. Because last week I went to Parliament to interview somebody, and there were about 20 people sitting in the MP's lobby waiting to meet him. And they were passing so many bills. So for your MP to be here at this time, from 5 o'clock to this time, deserves a round of applause. You know, we see them before election, and they vanish after election. So it's good we are seeing you after election. Long may it continue. I want to also thank my sister Doris. She's a busy person. And you don't live in Cape Coast. So you drove from Accra to here and you drive back. It's a sacrifice. God bless you. Put your hands together for her. And Kafui, they host a morning show on Ghana television, the station of the nation. And he's here not only today, he will be here tomorrow as well. He deserves not just a round of applause, but a shout. So enough has been said about self-leadership. So I don't really want to talk about that today. So what I would do is to give you the 9 vital features of leadership as I understand it. Then I will talk about the times we are in. Because a man who does not know his time is like a fish caught in an evil net. That's Ecclesiastes. So no matter how excellent you are, you must understand the times. The Bible says the men of Issachar, they had understanding of the times. And they knew what Israel ought to do. And therefore their brethren were at their command. So you must understand the salience of the time. So understanding the time is not just knowing that it is 8:39. That is Chronos time. You must also understand the importance of being a student at UCC in 2021. Then we'll talk about 2 legs to develop strong leadership. And I hope to do that in less than 15 minutes because we've heard a lot. Listening to the panelists, I made some notes. I told the organizer I can't come with a prepared speech because by the time I finish, all my apple is gone. So when they were writing, I was rather writing my apple. Does that make sense? So sometimes you can prepare a nice speech, then the people will come and say everything, then your speech is just looking for. Most of what I will say here are things I observe as I listen to the stories. Professor Ghartey, the MP, Kafui, the lady on the Zoom, Henry Baye, and Bernard. So not be original. I'm capturing them in a way that will give you something to remember. Leadership is a concept. Its definition is influence. Leadership is a concept. Its definition is influence. That's point number 1. I'll come back to it. Point number 2. Leadership is a key. Or leadership is a door. Leadership is a door. Its key is priorities. Let me start again. Leadership is a concept. It's defined as. Bernard is in New Zealand. He had a dream 2014. Sold it in 2015. 2021, he's not here. We are here. Influence. So influence is not about being in a place. It's about the power to cause a change. Never forget that. So a leader is not just somebody with post. It's somebody who can influence. We were feeling tired. Kwampa made everybody stand up. They were leading. Because they noticed that the room was getting dull. Whether you are VC or MP, you danced. That's leadership. So leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. In developing yourself, don't aim just for post. Think of your power to influence. Very important. Leadership is a concept. It's defined as influence. Number 2, leadership is a door. And the key to it is priorities. Leadership is a door. To be an effective leader, you cannot do everything. If you listen to what we're saying, somebody wanted him to be a doctor. He preferred business. You don't become a leader by doing more things. You become a leader by doing fewer things. Effectiveness is not busyness. So the higher you go in a company, the fewer the things you do. That is not to say you should be lazy. It means the key to being effective is understanding priority. We are talking about self-leadership. So leadership is a door. And if you don't understand how to prioritize, you cannot be an effective leader. Number 3, leadership is a meal. It's a meal. It's a preparation. It's a mix. It's like something I cooked last week on TV. Rice, onion, oil. Angwamu. Leadership is a mixture. Its most important ingredient is integrity. Leadership is a preparation. its most important ingredient is not salt, it's integrity. Integrity. The root word is integer. Latin is an integer as against fraction. A fraction is two numbers. 1/2 is a fraction. -1 is an integer. It's a whole number. So the most important aspect of leadership is integrity. We don't have a Bernard on radio versus a Bernard in Medina and a Bernard in his house. If Bernard says we don't lie, he doesn't lie on air, he can't lie in the house, he can't lie to you. He's one person. He is not boiling at 1 degree in the house and 10 degrees on radio. So the most important ingredient in leadership is integrity. And I'll explain why that's important in this time. Number 4, leadership is a race. Leadership is a race. What gives you an edge is attitude. Leadership is a race. What gives you an edge is attitude. Before I came here, I was on a Vodafone skills panel. And the chief was HR officer, Ashiokai. She said they interviewed some people and one guy was so great. But when they finished the interview, the best candidate, they asked the candidate, do you have any question for us? The candidate said, I don't have a question. But I want to tell you guys at Vodafone that you have to learn to work on your network because your network is very bad. I mean, the guy answered all the questions. He had everything. But his posture and attitude denied him the job. So leadership is a race. It's attitude. Am I making sense? So it's not about how smart you are. Your attitude can deny you. Number 5, leadership is a treasure. Leadership is a treasure. It's not cheap. Leadership is not cheap. Its price tag is called sacrifice. Its price tag is called sacrifice. When I was running for JCL Secretary of Legon Hall, I walked from room 1 to room 508, or the last room in all the blocks. We did it about 5 times. Explain the same point to everybody. You can ask Honorable. The places and villages he has gone to, the funerals he has attended, the school fees he has paid, the banku he has had to cook just to get here. Leadership is a treasure. It's not cheap. The price tag is sacrifice. There are times he will send text to his kids that do your homework. I won't come home today because I'm meeting constituents and the candidate is coming. It cost him something to get there. He didn't just sit down and say, Lord, I want to be a leader. He paid the price. And in this era, we have lots of people who believe in the power of acceleration. There's a doctrine in church of divine acceleration that thinks that, oh, because I'm favored, everything can happen quickly. That undermines the law of process. Ladies and gentlemen, to be an effective, genuine leader, you must learn to pay the price. The price tag of leadership is sacrifice. He said, for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame. Therefore, God has highly exalted him. So leadership is a treasure. The price tag is sacrifice. What number am I going to? Number 5 or 6? Number 6. Leadership is a person. Leadership is a person. Its most important quality is vision. Leadership is a person. Its most important quality is vision. That means that what makes leadership is vision. A leader is a person in front. Now, if you are in front of a trotro, when I was in Medina, when I'm taking a Trotsky to circle, I time the front, because me per front, and sometimes they say one front because some policeman has come, and sometimes the second front, you are sitting on an engine, is hot. But the advantage of front is that 2 things: you see before everybody else sees. That's vision. You see what people don't see. Now, what makes VC different from a normal lecturer is when a student comes to VC and complains, VC can see something about an institutional problem. A student may be complaining about a difficult exam, but a VC will see a systemic problem where he sees, makes him see different things. So leadership is about vision. So a leader sees what others don't see, and a leader sees before everybody else sees. Am I making sense? So leadership is a person, and its most indispensable quality is vision. Vision. Now, you must have a vision for your life. Now, if you don't have a vision for your life, everywhere is a destination. Am I making sense? So, let's go through. Number 1, leadership is a concept. Its definition is what? Number 2, leadership is a door. The key to it is what? What was number 3? Leadership is a preparation or a meal. What is its most important ingredient? Number 4, leadership is a race. What is this? Number 5, leadership is a person. No, number 5. Leadership is a treasure. Its price tag is what? Number 6, leadership is a person. What is this indispensable quality? Let's go to number 7. I'm giving you 9. I'll run through quickly. Number 7, leadership is a reward. The quickest way to gain it is solving a problem. Leadership is a reward. The quickest way to gain it is solving a problem. There are times we are looking for somebody to do some work. The person who does the sacrifice gains the reward. Sometimes in choosing your children for reward, look at Jacob and Esau. The one who solved the man's hunger problem got the blessing. I'm not endorsing cheating, but the one who solved his hunger problem is the one who got the reward. Am I making sense? We are looking for problem solvers, not just not just problem analysts. Are we together? So that's why people will line up in front of leaders' offices asking for school fees. I'm not endorsing that. But if you're a leader, you must own problems and solve them. You can't say, oh, before you become in government, oh, the government is bad. Then when you become, so the people are bad. You say, oh, the people, they are lazy. The attitude is bad. Fix the car. Fix the, do that. You must own the problem. So leadership is a reward. Quickest way to gain it is solving a problem. Number 8, or is it number 7? Leadership is an odyssey. An odyssey. An odyssey is an eventful journey, sometimes filled with risks. Leadership is an odyssey, and the ultimate test at the end of the odyssey is positive change. That's leadership. It's an odyssey. It's not a straight line. It's complicated. It's like going from a trail. You are on an adventure island trying to solve many problems. What determines who succeeds is whether you bring positive change. Then the last point is what Doris said. Leadership is an enigma. Leadership is an enigma. You know why? Leadership is an enigma. It's an enigma because the most difficult person to lead is the one trying to lead. That's what Doris said. John Maxwell. Leadership is an enigma. The most difficult person to lead is yourself. So all the things I'm saying, and you are writing and thinking about what you do as a politician, what you do as a master. If you can't lead yourself, you have not started your leadership journey. If you can't lead yourself, you have not started your leadership journey. Now, how do you lead yourself? You must understand the times you are in and the demands of the time. The Bible says in 2 Timothy 3, that this know also, that in the last days, terrible times shall come. Now, I'm not a prophet of doom, but I want to say to you that the Legon or the UCC you attended today is a more difficult place than the Legon your father attended. I went to Legon in 2000. My father went in 1973. He was in the Kafui hall. There were only 2 in a room. And they used to serve them in the Kafui hall, dining hall to eat rice. When I went to Legon, we were 4 in the outer room, 1 in the inner room. And each of the 4 had a pitcher. So we were 8 in the outer. The inner room had a pitcher. So my father's 2 became my 10. The dining hall he was eating in, we were praying there. It had become a church. It's a different era. We were eating at Commonwealth Hall under some tree. So the whole fork and knife thing was thrown out of the window. This was a different era. Now, I can't behave as if I'm in my father's era at Legon. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'll be a worse person, because it is in the fires of affliction that character is formed. So sometimes the more disadvantaged we are, the more precarious our situation. I mean, look at us. We are wearing masks. How many of our forefathers wore masks in a lecture hall? How many of them had to contend with the kind of strikes we are contending with? I mean, we were driving here. My driver was saying, how come the students are walking so far out of campus? Don't they have hostels? I said, I don't know. They are walking somewhere to look for a place. When in the 70s, I'm sure it was 1 man, 1 bed. Now we don't have 1 man, 1 bed. So it's a more difficult time. And to make matters worse, when I wrote my WASI in the year 1998, the whole candidature in my school were around 400. When I go to Presec today, there are over 1,500 students. I was at Swesco last week to speak to them. The whole school is 4,500. That means that for my 400, so the finalists were about 1,000. So if I am contending with 399 people for job, this person is contending with 999. So these are difficult times. It's a time characterized by lack of opportunity. And now people are saying, well, these youth, they are not hardworking. If you listen to our adults, oh, the young people, they are not serious. But they forget that we are in very difficult times. Now, the times you are in is encapsulated by a very interesting parable. Now, in 1870, Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, the landline. Ladies and gentlemen, the landline needed 100 years to connect to 100 million people. Alexander Graham Bell. So it was up till 1977 that 100 million people were connected to the landline. That is the landline. Then the mobile phone was invented. What took the landline 100 years to connect 100 million people? The mobile phone needed only 15 years to do that in the 70s. So by the late 90s, over 100 million people were already on, getting into 2000. So the mobile phone gained 85 years on the landline. Now look at the internet. The internet needed 7.5 years to reach 100 million people. That means he's slashing down the time by another half. So what took Alexander Graham Bell 100 years, internet needed only 7.5 years. Now those of you who have phones who play Candy Crush on Facebook, Candy Crush needed just 1 year to connect to 100,000 people. What does it mean? Even though these are difficult times, we are competing with more people and there will be more competition for the job. It also means we can do a whole lot more. Because in those days, to learn anything, you have to be in a classroom. But today, if you have a good internet connection, you can learn how to code in your own room. So what took some people 100 years can take us a year if we will understand the times and apply ourselves. So I define our times by the word see. We are in COVID times, that's true. We are also in contentious times because of all the different struggles. Look at Afghanistan, look at the identity crisis. But ladies and gentlemen, we are also in condensed time. It means that you can do a whole lot more within the pressures that we are in. So whereas your parents had probably an easier time, I'm not saying everything around them was easy because some of them work for long kilometers, but the competition makes your life very precarious. I know when I live here, some people call me and say I want to do internship at Citi, because the only chance they may get to meet a general manager of any company is in this hall. Whereas if you graduated in the 80s or 90s, once you have a first or second upper, Unilever or Bank of Ghana is looking for you. It's no longer the same. But that is not a call for despair. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. What that means is that the more difficult the time, the more thorough the man that is prepared. So I want to end by giving you 2 cues. For you to be influential in the last days, in these times we are in, you need to have 2 very important ingredients. The first one, I call it capacity. I call it what? Capacity. Not capacity, but capacity. Capacity. Your ability. What makes the internet or what makes the computer more powerful than a calculator is capacity. It's called processing power. It means a lot more can happen now. Why? Because we are in the era of the network. If you want to understand the times, study the biggest businesses in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, 20 years ago, the top 10 businesses in the world were Walmart, they were ExxonMobil, they were large companies which were in the extractive industry. Only IBM was a technology company 20 years ago among the top. There was Coca-Cola, there was McDonald's. These are global behemoths that needed a footprint to be big. 20 years down the line, the top companies in the world have nothing to do with extractives. They have everything to do with the network. Their name is Facebook, the name is Google, the name is Apple. These are companies built on the network. What does it mean? What size could not do for us, networking can do. It means don't come to UCC and be an ivory tower. Don't come and be a one-man mountain trying to do everything by yourself. Because what the network teaches us is that if we can connect and work together, we are sitting in Cape Coast. The convener is in New Zealand. One of the keynote speakers is in the US. And somebody is from the island of Jersey. And we had a sensible conversation. We must learn from what we are seeing. It means that you must begin to understand networking. That means you cannot come for 4 years and just go for lectures. You must know how to offer yourself training in leadership. Organize an event. I'm not saying go on a beach trip to have a frolic. But leadership is not learned just in a book. You have to apply yourself. When I was on Legon campus, I was like your man in your MP. Everything I was there. LPU, I was the secretary. Radio Universe, student coordinator. We were doing a lot of things. Why? Because you must put yourself in a situation to learn. If you just follow the course outline, you will get a certificate, but that is not the real preparation for life. He ran for Casford SRC President. He learned a thing or two about defeating Roxanne Dafiameto. So when he met the MPP person in Cape Coast North, he used that same lesson to beat the person. So even though these are difficult times, I came to urge you, even if you are in the final year, don't leave UCC without learning how to volunteer. Some of you are saying, well, I can't get an internship because all the companies don't want to ask to get me. It doesn't matter. Go and teach in a village school. Do it for free for 2 weeks. Learn the difficulty of teaching class 4 students mathematics. Learn to face resistance and rejection, because that may be the only thing you know to go into that interview. Don't say, well, no company wants. Am I making sense or making noise? Don't say any company doesn't want to employ me. A valid key to entry into jobs can be volunteerism. So if you have just 1 semester to go, even 1 week, you can say after you graduate, before national service posting, you will do teaching for free in some village school. If you prepare yourself in that way, you will be getting ready for the future. So we are talking about capacity. There are many capacities a person must build before they leave campus. Because you are in a good university, I won't talk about mental capacity, because all the things you learn are training your mental capacity. So mental capacity is great, but that's not enough. You also need to improve your emotional capacity. Now, how do you improve emotional capacity? Emotional capacity comes through failure. Because if you can't deal with failure here, when you go to the world of work and they reject you for interview, you will just say, let me commit suicide and die. So you need to know, and I'm not endorsing or glorifying suffering. What I'm saying is that some of the experiences we go through here are key for our emotional development. Those of you who do a bit of physics, you need to know this, that if you want to produce real power in any system, you must put the system under pressure. And I tell you not, this place is a place of pressure. When I was in Legon, my friends, I used to say, Charlie, UCC is a place of pressure. They said it was a university of constant crisis, because the place was tough. But guess what? Some of the best leaders I have in my contemporaries came from this place. Even in my company, the guys who came here, they are more mature. They speak with more wisdom. Some of them were older, yes, because they did training college before they came. But the more pressure the system put on them, the more power it generated on their inside. So be grateful you are in a school like this, because this is the offering. This is the bakery for your preparation for leadership. So we thank God for UCC, because it's not an easy place to come. Again, when we were in Legon, I remember there was a big strike in the early 2000s, because the UCC students said to get an A, you had to get 80. In Legon, if you get, I think 65 or 70, it was A. And my roommate's brother was rusticated from this school because he led a demonstration against that issue of A being 80. But guess what? Most of those guys who came out of that difficult system are doing great things. People who had it easy may not have a great future. So I'm not saying let the university punish you. I mean, think about the guy who gave him an A. I mean, if he hadn't gone for that guy, he may not have been here. So guys, your emotional capacity is key. And some of the outward things, I interviewed 2 people about the private school versus public school. Most of my phone callers said, in Ghana, those who go to GIS and SOS, they can think creatively. They can be more whatever. Then the university professor called from the medical school. He said, when it comes to medicine, the most important criteria is resilience. And he says the guys who go to the Dadabi schools, yes, they can think and speak English, they can speak Greek and things. But when they are in the 5th semester and the pressure is on, some of them give up and say, don't do it again. But the guys who went to Legon and UCC and these local Ghana schools, they be tough. So even though the lecturer is pushing them, they are also learning. So you are here to gain emotional capacity. Don't downplay it, people. UCC, you may never come back here. And I tell you, it's not the certificate that you take to the world. It's the lessons. There are people who are succeeding who don't know where their university certificate is. But the lesson they got is still in their system. Am I making sense? So build your emotional capacity. I describe capacity as a building, and I describe character as a tree. So the second root of what you need to develop is your character. The problem with us is that whilst we in the continent of Africa are very religious, we try to focus on character. But some people have developed capacity. Now let me give you a simple example that will make it work. To walk effectively, you need 2 legs. So to lead effectively, you need 2 things. You need to develop your capacity. That is your ability. Your capacity is your entry into excellence. So Kafui, if you are recruiting a driver to drive you from Cape Coast to Accra, you will not recruit him because he smiles or because he speaks in tongues. You recruit him because he knows how to drive. So the entry into any space is capacity. Am I making sense? So that's what UCC is giving you. It's giving you capacity. But Kafui, if you employ that driver now and you give him 100 cedis to buy petrol, then you reach Yamaransa, the petrol is finished. You say, and then the buyer, oh, petrol, there's a leakage in the engine. He has chopped the 80 cedis and he has used only 20 Ghana. So what his driving capacity give him, his character will make him lose it. So this is the issue. We at the UCC, we are being given capacity training. But I tell you this, it is the external activities that will form your character. Because you can get a job, but without character, you can't sustain the job. So in addition to capacity, we must also grow character. Am I making sense to somebody? And character formation must be deliberate, which is what they've been talking about. They say you must know yourself. Don't allow the little foxes. Procrastination. Now, the most common ailment among young people today is called distraction. Distraction. You pick up a phone that you want to read an email. When you pick up the phone, Manchester United has signed Cristiano Ronaldo. You are on foot mob. Before you know, some lady is dancing, twerking on Facebook. You are there. Next time you are on some website. I thought I was reading my lecture notes. Before you know, it's 12 o'clock and you are chatting. It's distraction. So even though this is a powerful tool, it's also a great distraction. So when we are talking about character, it's not just being honest, it's also being disciplined. Because discipline is the key to success. I need to say something about discipline. It's one of the missing links in our development. If you study development, countries that have developed, from Singapore, I'm talking of the countries that came in our era, Singapore, South Korea, China, a lot of them, they imposed a certain regime of discipline. And I'm not saying let's go back to military rule, but trust me, a disorderly, indisciplined people cannot be economically successful. Check it. So even in the Western world, which is very free, society is very structured. There are speed cameras everywhere. The way you drive on Accra, Cape Coast, you can't drive like that to London, Birmingham. They will catch you. You will not see a policeman asking for bribe, but they will write a letter to you, and it will be deducted from your direct debit. Ask MP, he will tell you. So we cannot develop as a nation if we hate discipline. And I want to say this in closing, that the most important quality we need in this era is discipline, because that is the soul of an army. That is what makes us stand out, because there's so much lawlessness in our societies. Young people are raising their voice against authorities, and they are not learning the constraints of discipline. And without discipline, we are not going anywhere. Now, we are not all going to do military service. In some countries, before you are 21, you must be a soldier. So in Israel, before you become any citizen in any capacity, you must go to 1 year of military training. There's a place for that, because there's so much indiscipline in this country, and there's so much indiscipline among us. And indiscipline is not just the way we talk, even the way we arrange our time, because discipline is also the judicious use of time, energy, and resources. So if you can't use your time, you waste your energy. And if you can't use your energy properly, you dissipate resources. So one of the reasons why we waste resources is because we are indisciplined. And so please, this generation has many crises. Our children are looking up to you to help them. But you must allow the fires of UCC to shape you into a disciplined person. That is the best way to lead yourself. It's not about just getting a position. If you can control your desires, if you can manage your time and subject yourself to discipline, I came to announce to you that the future we will create is better than the present we enjoy. I thank you for your attention. I know that the next time I come to this university, there will be testimonies. UCC is going to produce some of the greatest leaders in this country. And the numbers we see here, and the discipline of all of you in mask. I've been to places where by the time it's 20 minutes, Obi in mask, people are walking around. Look at the order. It tells you there's something going on which is good. We don't need to put it all out there for people to see. Trust me, you will miss this day one day. So let's not just condemn the leadership. There's something going on which is good. For you to sit from 5 to almost 9 p.m. without complaining for you want to drink water, it tells me something has been placed in you. So it gives me hope. The final thing I'll say, you cannot save a generation that you are mentored by. So our children who are internet generation, they are all learning online. Ask Kafui. We who will help them must discipline ourselves. If every time you go home, you are using your phone, your child also sees you using the phone. If you want to help your child, because the internet is what they know, you must learn to take yourself out of that system. Am I making sense? Because otherwise, you will become a victim of what you condemn. So, technology is great, guys, but let me tell you, it is a big danger for us. Because in as much as it gives us opportunity, it's also our biggest threat. But I know you are wise, and I know God will help us. I want to thank the organizers one more time. Thank you very much for your time. I'll leave it here. God bless you. Long live UCC. Long live you.
That was awesome, wasn't it? Engaging. I told you, he said something that in these times that we condense time. And that means that you're able to do more with the time that you have. From 6 p.m. till now, we have condensed time. And we're going away better than we entered this auditorium. Ladies and gentlemen, please, please help me. Let's appreciate Mr. Bernard Avle. Quick informations, and we'll call it a night. We have an alumni network. WIWIK has an alumni network where we deepen and re-establish the long-lasting WIWIK experience, and to also provide network connections. So I encourage you to call 050-937-2535, 050-937-2535, or you can get onto WIWIK Global across all social media platforms, so that you can, once you've attended this conference, you're eligible to be part of the alumni. And so please connect in that regard. Again, WIWIK, in collaboration and partnership with GIZ, is bringing the UMAP project, which is an awareness program against unsafe migration. So the Unsafe Migration Awareness Program is the UMAP. You can get more information when you send an email to info@wiwikglobal.com. So that is that. And we have a YouTube page. The organizers of this conference, Apex Human Consult, has a YouTube channel. Please go on and subscribe. There's a lot of content that will be absolutely beneficial to you. For our winners, ladies and gentlemen, we have Windy Odate and Angela Amponsa. Please wave at me wherever you are. You sent messages to our Instagram. Or are the winners those who connected online, because we have been live all through from 6 p.m. All right, thank you. For other winners, for all those who engaged in the activities we asked you to, the organizers will connect with you on phone. And so we're drawing the curtain down on tonight's gathering. I want to thank you all for coming. First, I want to acknowledge the sponsors who have really contributed and gone great lengths to ensure that this program has been the success that we see it to be. Let's acknowledge ACCA. They are proud sponsors of this evening's gathering. They have a video, they have an advert, so we can see it now on the screen. Just a quick message from ACCA.
Let me give you 6 reasons to choose a qualification with ACCA. You'll discover a world of opportunity. With 188,000 members and 480,000 students in 178 countries, you'll become part of a global network. You'll get a qualification that's recognized around the world. And you can tailor your studies for local law and tax to suit wherever you want to go. Employers trust ACCA. We have 110 years of experience, so employers trust us to deliver skilled professionals, which we do already to over 7,400 employers around the world. And we have ACCA Careers, giving you the career portal and the job board with thousands of vacancies waiting to be filled. Your automatic network. Once you become an ACCA member, you'll get access to thousands of finance professionals in our members' LinkedIn group, providing you with invaluable connections and potential mentoring opportunities. Or get involved through face-to-face networking events in your local area for students and members. And connect with fellow students through the virtual learning community. We're brilliantly flexible. Want to study full-time or fit your studies around work? No problem. Study on your own with one of our many approved learning partners, face-to-face with tutors, or choose a mix of all three. Or you could use ACCAX and study online. You can even gain a BSc degree from Oxford Brookes University and a globally recognised MSc degree from the University of London at the same time. Our specialism options allow you to be expert in your chosen field. Quality control? Check. The materials you use and the people who teach you have to meet our high standards. And our approved learning partners, ALPs, that have been specially selected are regularly assessed. We're here to support you. We have masses of online material including study guides, past papers and inspirational articles from top people who were once just like you. We'll also work hard to make exams flexible and convenient. We're always thinking ahead, looking for fresh ways to help you. There's already 24/7 support and tips with the ACCA learning community. And if English isn't your first language, BPP University can provide you with tailored English language support. This is your opportunity to get the right skills and knowledge to build your career as a finance professional. Register today via our website.
Procrastination. Let's not do tomorrow what we can do today. And so, if you will, let's kindly go onto YouTube and subscribe to Apex Human Consult. Let's subscribe to that channel because there's relevant information for all of us. So that you do not forget, it's imperative that we do it now. While we're at it, I'd like to also acknowledge our other sponsors. A big thank you to MTN Ghana for the support they've lent to us. I think your hands are busy, otherwise it will be a good place to put their hands together for them. GIZ also lent us very great support and want to appreciate them as well. And last but not least, Bridge Hub, the Bridge Hub. They also lent us some support in putting together this awesome event. Thank you. In appreciating everyone, I want to particularly appreciate all of our speakers. First, I want to appreciate Professor Joseph Ampiah Ghartey. Thank you, sir. Thank you for pouring out into us. We appreciate it. Thank you. We also want to appreciate the Honorable Dr. Minta Nyarku. Thank you very much, sir. Madam Doris Ahiati, we also want to acknowledge you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And for the rest of our panel who connected with us, very special thanks to Mr. Henry Baye and Madam Nancy Halpern. Madam Nancy Halpern. It's been awesome having all of them. But I also want to specially thank my senior and MC par excellence, Mr. Kafui. Thank you very much, sir. And our keynote speaker. He spoke with so much fire. You felt the fire, didn't you? Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Bernard Avle. So what a night it has been. Very exciting, hasn't it been? Informative, right? Educative, hasn't it been? We'll never be the same. Let's do this. For every note that we have written, let's not get into the practice of having another note. When we go back to our hostels and wherever we're coming from, make it a point to go through so that it becomes an active part of you. Is that good? And for the rest of the days, all of what has transpired here will be available on our social media platform. You can watch it on demand and chew on all that we've spoken. There's so much information. So please make it a point to go back onto our social media pages and then listen again so that it will sink in and we'll get the best out of it. Having said this, tomorrow we're going to have a session with Kafui. It's a communication session at Sasakawa from 9 to 11. Please register at the information desk outside and we can be a part of it. And for those of us who also want to have certificates of participation for this awesome conference, you can as well register with the information desk outside. Once we're done, we'll have photographs with all of our panel and speakers right here, and then we'll call it a day. Kwampa, remember, will take us home, so be on the lookout for them. Having said this, I think it's a good time for us to kindly rise to our feet. So I'm told some of the certificates are ready, so if you want a certificate, please go by, register, and then pick it. While we are up, I think we can say a word of prayer. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, thank you for tonight, and thank you for the privilege we have to open ourselves to all of these knowledge that our resource persons have poured into us. May we not just be listeners, but may we be doers. Give us the grace to maximize, and let us not waste this opportunity as we've had it. To the glory of your name, we give you thanks. Amen. And so, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for coming, and thank you all for respecting all of the COVID protocols. We'll have a photo session now with our panel and our speakers, and we'll call it a night. My name is Austin Somwa. Thank you all again for coming.